What's up, young bucks, old goats? I got the bum with me here.
How you What's doing, happening? Bum? How are you?
How you holding up, buddy?
I'm on a strict regimen of tranquilizers and psychiatric care.
That's a typical Saturday night for you. I'm saying what I meant is with this whole Tua thing, if there's anything different going on.
You got to remember, I was there in person to experience that.
I still can't believe you left early because you were in some pretty sweet seats there.
Yeah, that's how bad it was.
How do those seats differ from like when we went to that one suite one time, the last time we won a playoff game?
It was very similar, actually.
It's just in a different part of the stadium because they're like in the end zone now, right?
Those were in the end zone. And basically you have like some seats way out in front with a window that's open, right? And then in the back, there's a bar, there's food, there's high tops where you could go and eat.
But that's kind of how I remember. That's kind of how
exactly.
I remember.
That's what I'm saying. It's pretty much the same. I didn't see any. I'll tell you what, the food is nowhere near the one that we went to in the 72 Club. That's for sure.
Oh, really? Not as nice.
Yeah.
Not as good.
Not as good. Definitely not. And the bars, they're good service, but very limited.
And they still have those traditional suites like that other one that we went to many years ago. Or they got rid of those?
No, I think they do. They're closer to this now, which is not too different than what we went to. They call them theater box now.
Okay. Well, it was definitely fucking theater. I'll give you that, bro. Because if you, the Dolphins could probably bring in non-football fans that like drama and like tragic events, dude.
The Dolphins. A lot of Buffalo fans.
There always is, though, man. There always is, because what is there to do in Buffalo, dude? Those people are like, yeah, let's go to Miami, dude. And we're almost guaranteed to kick these people ass in their stadium, and like we'll go to South Beach and whatever. But all right, enough with the suites and the dramas. The main drama is Tua, his replacement, what he's going to do, what he should do, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to give you some of our top 10 replacement picks. I also want to throw out a few that like absolutely do not want to see. And first of all,
I'm sorry. Can I start with a question of you? I know you have a lot of stuff there and you're prepped and ready to go. This is one of the things that I thought about, but I wanted to get your opinion of it.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a lot of tragedies as it relates to the Miami Dolphins, but where does this and separate that you may have thought it was going to happen and all that stuff. But I mean, as far as tragedies in the Miami Dolphin history, like where does this line, where's this at?
The tragedy of Darth Plagueis, the Wise.
Like where does this debacle, this game? I mean, think about it. It wasn't just a loss. Like you lost the starting quarterback, you got your ass kicked. I mean, there's a lot of things there. But that's happened to us before, right? There was the Jacksonville thing with Marino's last game, and there's other.
That's not nearly as tragic because we knew Marino was at the end, and we didn't think that was a Super Bowl team. It was
tragic. Never experienced a 60-something point whipping like that.
Right. It was tragic in the sense of, damn, it sucks the way this guy went out, but I don't think that was as impactful to the franchise.
The 1-15 season.
There's a consolation prize there that you get a top pick, at least.
I could go. I mean, again, there's.
Well, yeah, we'd have to call out the major tragic events to see where this ranks up.
Because what I notice is for some people, and I guess it's the younger people, this one was a pretty big one. This was pretty big for like the younger fans, I guess. Maybe I've seen so many that maybe this wasn't.
You don't try to counsel these people.
No, these people. Some of these people are delusional. So, but I was just trying to think of, like where. It's like a pretty big deal. When you start thinking about it, it really is.
Yeah, but you told me not to do this, but I'm going to do it anyways. Like, we didn't see this coming. We didn't know that this was a possibility. Like, if somebody's, geez, that's a bad comparison. I don't want to make that one. I don't know. Somebody's freaking skydiving off the cliffs like they do, and then one day they get seriously injured. Well, we knew that could happen. Besides the fact that he plays football, which is a concern for any football player, but specifically him with his history, that's a time bomb. We knew. I mean,
right?
Were you surprised?
Like, did I ever think that he was gonna get hurt again ever?
In that fashion, because I don't want to take away regular football injuries that happen all the time.
Exactly.
Were you surprised when you saw him? Yes, thank you, Dylan Sweat. If Tua would have just slid in, this would have never happened. Or he could have. You're gonna go head first to get a couple of yards, go a little bit to the left, go a little bit to the right. Don't dive right into the guy. But to finish my thought,
yeah.
Did you think? Were you surprised that we would see him one day again? With the fencing response, with the balled up fist and stuff.
I'll tell you why I'm a little surprised. Not because I didn't think it was going to happen, is because I thought they were really working hard to avoid it. And what I mean by that is, dude, that guy has barely ever run. Even before these concussions, he wasn't really running. And in this game, he decided to run a couple times, including the fateful one. So I was surprised that he would I thought the only way he would get a concussion again was if they sacked him, turned him over, and threw him on his head. Because I never expected him running the ball. I didn't think he was going to do that.
You were like Grier, which were some quotes that he felt comfortable with the contract because the jiu-jitsu.
No, I never said that.
But I'm saying he said that. He felt comfortable with the contract because he thought the jiu-jitsu had really helped. Now, if you remember, one of the knocks on last year's season for him, for certain people, me being one of them, was we don't have a quarterback sneak in the playbook, and we never will as long as this guy is on the team. He never picks up that key, which those were key. The one run where he got earlier, like 10 yards, which it looked like he had cement boots on when he got it.
Yeah.
And then this one, those were key. That one was fourth down, the one where he got hurt on. Those are the kind of plays that you got to have sometimes to eke these.
Precisely.
Right? But he didn't have that. And he tried to change that.
For that reason alone, that they did not have that shit in the playbook, that it seemed like that they were never going to run that. It was like something that was removed from the playbook, and they purposely tailored that to make sure that they would never put him in that position. So from that perspective, I thought that the only way that he would have a concussion again is if some some guy picked him up and threw him on his head because it wasn't going to be running on fourth down. And sure enough, that's exactly how it happened.
I mean, he did run some, last year. So there's always a chance, but he pretty much always slid. You never really saw him. I think he got a little cocky, dude, to be honest with you.
Well, clearly, but the bottom line is I felt that they were very, for a lack of a better term, conscious of making sure that they wouldn't put him in that position.
Well, the offense is tailor-made to not have concussions. We get the ball out in 2 seconds. We don't have you sneak or call a run play for you ever. We really are against you running for any yardage. We want you to throw away the ball as soon as you have pressure and you don't have a play. So everything is like, that's the first part of the offense.
Right. And again, I really think that guy probably thinks about getting hurt when he plays, unlike other players that have completely removed that from their thought. And I think he does think about it, or he has thought about it. So I didn't think he was ever going to be in that position, in a way where he was drawing the hit to himself by running it. I didn't think so.
But that's football, man. That's going to happen, dude. That's going to happen eventually.
Sure. No, it could happen. I just thought that they were doing their darndest to not be in that position.
Well, they didn't call that play. He took it under himself to go and pick up those yards, At the end of the day, you're a football player, he who knows what's going through his mind. I spent a whole year. I didn't get hurt. I'm losing this game. I can pick up this play for my team, and then, it's a split-second decision where everybody's saying slide. You had the first down. Some of these guys don't even know where they are on the field sometimes. He just wanted to make sure but he ended up knocking himself out. Dylan says, do you think he'll come back? Seen a lot about Brady the past day, but I don't know if it's legit. That name's going to be around every team, that loses a quarterback. Will Tua come back? If I had to guess, what would you guess, Bum? If you had to guess right now.
I think I said before to you that if there's any chance of him able to play, I think he will.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that he would come back, which is a different question that should he come back? I'm nobody to say. Yeah, I'm nobody to say he should or shouldn't do anything. If you ask a doctor, they'll probably tell you nobody should be playing football. Nobody should be boxing. Nobody should be doing MMA.
Right.
Nobody should be jumping out of fairly good airplanes. But will he? I would guess yes. And the Dolphins want him to come back too, if nothing else, to save a bunch of money, because there's a lot of implications on that.
And that goes back to, other things that you're going to touch upon, and this is where I have a bigger problem with all this. Knowing that you have a quarterback that has had injuries, why wouldn't you have a very solid backup? And it's the opposite. They really ignored that. And, you look at Skyler, and a few years ago, he actually played in a playoff game against Buffalo, played pretty well, and we lost.
Should have won that game.
But he really had, and at that point, at that moment in time, you would say, oh, wow, this guy could be a potential guy that you're grooming up.
At minimum, he's the incumbent backup, and he should not be.
And he should know that offense really well. He may not have the physical tools to do it as well or whatever, but he should know that offense very well. He should be very comfortable with it. And you would have thought that from a playoff, a almost playoff win, he would have progressed into, a guy that could step in and win you some games.
Absolutely. And the definite mistake and admission of mistake is bringing in Mike White, then cutting Mike White, and now putting Skyler back in that number 2. when if you would have cut Skyler last year because you just, hey man, I saw this guy's never going to even be able to be our backup, and you cut him, then I understand. But now that he's back at the number 2 position, which is soon to be starter, at least this next game, I would imagine, you just wasted a year of his development probably, or not wasted because he was still there, but definitely hindered him.
But that's what I'm getting at. To me, they've hindered him. They've, again, from a guy who started a playoff game and almost won it to a guy that got, superseded by bums, Tim Boyles and Mike Whites and whoever else they brought in. I mean, that was like a big waste of time. And now when you need him, I mean, he went in there and he looked like he hadn't played, in a long time. And he took a lot of the preseason reps. So
he's a preseason, pretty good preseason guy over the years.
So what I'm getting to, it seems like, again, you didn't put the attention needed knowing that you have an injury-prone quarterback. You didn't invest the right time, development, either getting a veteran to fill that role or making sure you develop this guy who took you or played in a playoff game and almost beat these people. Guy hasn't progressed any since then.
I was of the opinion that we should have brought in somebody this preseason or previous to the preseason. I didn't see anything out of Mike White to even bring him in last year or this year. I thought they should have gotten the top available backup or drafted somebody just based on this guy's injury history, just based on the fact that, last year was an anomaly, and that is not the norm with this guy. It never has been. It's a miracle it was. You saw the extent that they had to go through with the offense to do that, which was no runs, no sneaks, get the ball out in 2 seconds, all that stuff. You knew that this was a possibility, and you didn't prepare for it. You didn't prepare your backup the year before, like you said, but you could have brought in any number of guys, some of which we're gonna talk about now that are still options that they could bring in. But the number one reason why I think they never brought anybody that the fans could even be chanting this person's name when Tua has a game like he had to start this game, because I don't know. I heard there was boos after the third pick.
I did hear some rumbling. I have to tell you, there were so many Buffalo Bill fans there that it was kind of
cheers, more cheers than boos.
Yeah, it seems like there was a lot of cheering going on at a lot of those debacles. But again, it goes to show me highlights what I was trying to say, in the sense that they actually went in the opposite direction. Instead of getting and securing that backup quarterback, they actually almost paid no attention to it. And
I thought they should have got Ryan Tannehill in the preseason.
And almost took it like, oh, we passed all that. We're done with all these concussion things. We're done with, he was healthy last year. That was a little hump that we went through. We're over it.
The jiu-jitsu is really working.
Yeah.
Well,
and it was
think
fool's gold. Fool's gold.
If you remember, Tua's psyche was very fragile and broken when McDaniel came in. McDaniel, this is not my assumption. This is like, he's even said it.
Yes.
They had to rebuild this guy's confidence, his leadership skills. They had to rebuild that. Not the football part, that his skills are the same probably that they were, when he came in, but they had to rebuild that, which is a big part of it, your confidence. And I think that bringing in any viable guy that could even be considered a competition or somebody that they could be chanting his name if he has a bad game where he throws 3 picks, nobody could deal with that or wanted to deal with that. So they shied away from bringing in maybe a veteran, maybe somebody like a Tannehill.
It does look like they were conscious of trying to avoid a quarterback controversy or anybody questioning or saying, wow, the backup is a little bit better. He can run the ball or he seems more agile or whatever. They really seem to want to avoid that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Tua has been the best quarterback that we've had in a while. Unfortunately, that does not say much. We haven't had much in the way since Marino in that position. Like, I don't know what the Mount Rushmore is of quarterbacks since Marino here. Pennington for one season, which was the Wildcat season. The offensive weapons are amazing that we have right now. I mean, I'm of the opinion with any mediocre 15th ranked quarterback, this team could do some damage just with a kind of top 15, not top 15, 15, whoever's around 15 of that nature could do a lot of damage with this offense.
That's about where Tua's ranked though, right? 15.
Yes.
So you're saying with another Tua level skill set that is not chronic to concussions, we'd go a lot farther.
Well, yeah, because you could find a top 15 guy that maybe could do some of the things that he can't do, that maybe could pick up that first down with your legs, that is not injury prone, that can do some of those things, some of his shortcomings. Of course, you're not going to get a top 15 quarterback right now. Unless you're going to trade one of the receivers or something for one of the top. Nobody's going to give up their starter. All right. Should we get into some of these guys?
Sure.
Some of the list?
Yeah.
I will tell you about Skyler here. One thing. I am interested to see him with 10 days of practice, reps, and a game plan suited to his skill set and to see what he can do. He's going to go into a tough place in Seattle, with 12th man and all this, but I think, you got to give guys a chance, and I'm not ready to write that guy off. I also know it's probably very unlikely that guy's going to take us to the promised land, but your backup,
it'd be surprising.
You back up, you want him to hang in there when he has to come in there.
Yeah, I mean, if he could keep us, 500 or maybe, a game above, that's kind of what you look for a backup. You're not asking them to win outright every game that they start,
500 is awesome. If you could give me 500 or just below, that's awesome. However, we have the situation where we don't know if this guy's ever coming back. So the list I have is if I was the GM, some of the guys I'd want to look at. Obviously, I don't think that the Dolphins are thinking the same way I'm thinking. They never do, especially for this position. There's some other guys that I don't want to see that we'll talk about. I bet that's one of the guys that we will get. The guys on the list of the people that I don't want to see. But some of the people that keep coming up. Do you have any? You want me to go?
Go ahead.
All right. Jimmy Garoppolo has been mentioned because he's a backup, because he's been in the system, played with McDaniel. Right now he's on the Rams, I think finishing up a PED suspension, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think he was on the roster.
He's on the Rams roster as a backup serving up the suspension. The reason I almost will cross this one off my list immediately, and I don't know all the ramifications, but he is on like a $24 million contract or something, if I'm not mistaken.
This guy's pretty injury prone too.
Yes, he's had his fair share of injuries.
Yes.
And has sort of become more and more ineffective over the years, even though he has a fantastic record still, probably, if you look at it. But that's a name that's been thrown out. I don't even know if that would work financially, but I'm not like head over heels over it. Even though in the past I did politic for Garoppolo at different points, but that ship has sailed. You want to throw one out?
Well, I'll tell you one that they probably think of that I wouldn't really necessarily be in favor of is Mariota.
He is Hawaiian.
Exactly.
And they want to keep that Hawaiian fan base. All right, I see where they're going with that one. Yeah, Mariota does not make my toes tingle.
No,
as the great Jim Mandish would say.
And I think that's a kind of person that they would look at.
Is he even on a roster?
I don't know.
Okay. I've heard Tyler Heineke's name mentioned.
Isn't he still in Atlanta?
Yeah, obviously you'd have some of these guys you're gonna have to trade for. They're not free agents, but you could you could make deals. Does that float your boat there at all?
I mean, that guy's played well in very short bursts, but I mean, at that point, we're comparing whoever we're throwing out here to Skyler, right? And seeing
Tyler Heineke may just be Skyler Thompson.
Exactly.
And he is a Charger, if I'm not mistaken, right now.
Okay.
Yeah, back up on the Chargers. I'd like to have that other Charger quarterback, but that's not going to happen. Another name I've heard in that vein is Tommy DeVito.
Jesus.
Exactly. At that point, you roll with Skyler, right?
I think so. And besides, that guy is probably waiting patiently because it's very likely that they'll bench Daniel Jones sometime during the season.
There's somebody else there in between him and Jones. It's not coming to the top of my head right now, but there's somebody else there. I can't remember who right now.
Tyrod Taylor.
I don't know about that. Okay, I swear we're gonna get to some better names. I'm throwing out the worst names.
By the way, that's another name that
I heard. Tyrod that name.
Taylor.
He may be a free agent though, right?
I think he's on a roster, and I thought it was the Giants, but
no, Drew Lock is the backup in the New York Giants.
Jesus.
Yeah.
No wonder they haven't benched him.
Tyrod Taylor is on the Jets, along with Mike White, which I heard that name too at some point. That's definitely on my list of people I don't want to see in a Miami uniform again at that position. Yeah, apparently Tyrod's on the Jets. Okay. Another name, of the not so big names, this is one that I kind of found the most interesting and maybe even the least offensive if they don't want to cause controversy. This guy's been on a bunch of teams, not really a super winner, but been on a bunch of teams. I consider him kind of a gamer. He usually gets thrown into the fire there, like when he's not even expecting to play. I affectionately call him the hairless cat, Joshua Dobbs.
Roy Hobbs, but isn't he the 49er backup?
He's the 49er backup, so he's in this system, but he's the third string quarterback there. I mean, if you throw him something over there, I'm sure we could work out a deal to get that guy.
I mean, what I would like about that guy over Skyler is I think he's a little bit more athletic and he makes things happen, but
which is what this guy's saying here, Steve Mandel. Skyler could be good if he can learn to move in the pocket better. Dobbs does have that. He's kind of nifty on his feet, kind of a gamer, I don't know. I wouldn't be super pissed if they got that guy out of, all the things in the realm of possibility here. All right, you got another one, or you want me to keep going down my list here?
No, you can keep going.
All right, you feel free to jump in at any time. Okay, let's just get the elephant out of the room here. Tom Brady, that name's come up a bunch of times.
It'd be hard for that. I mean, he's working on that ownership stuff, and he's doing TV for Fox. Mm-hmm. I don't know, that it's just way too much.
They tried to do it once, and they could talk to him. They could talk to him now without tampering.
I got to tell you, man, I really don't want to be put in the spot of, having to think about rooting for that guy. Fuck that guy.
Oh, trust me. Personally, I would not. Thanks, Steve. Usually every post game I'm going to be going live during the season, and then maybe in between. Thanks for the sub, brother. Yeah, no, that would be heartbreaking for me to have to get Tom Brady after all the times. I mean, of all people,
I don't think I could even do it.
I'm thinking logistically, they've probably thought about it. They thought about it before. Who knows? But that's a name that gets thrown out. Dylan Sweat here mentioned, I have this guy on my list. Let's get him out of the way. Russell Wilson.
I heard about that too, but I mean, I think he's better than Skyler. I mean, if we want to look at it that way, I think it's an improvement there. But I think then it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Is that a name that's going to be suddenly then, fans are going to be chanting, oh, we got Russell now. Is that going to create a controversy, which they seem to want to avoid?
Right. So there's two things. There's the guys, if we're expecting Tua to come back, which is the Joshua Dobbs is probably the high end of that. And then there's the guys where Tua's not coming back. And that's sort of these other guys we just started talking about. Brady, Deshaun, that's been mentioned. We'll talk about him next. Russell Wilson. Those are the other names where you're not bringing him in to bridge you to Tua. You're like, let's salvage this season and let's bring in. So, it depends on which way they're going to go. Deshaun, I just threw him out there. You heard that one?
Yeah, that guy's enough. That guy sucks, man. I don't know what's happened to that guy.
And he's on a good team. I mean, he didn't have a bad record last year, man. I don't know. I'm not ready to say that guy is washed up.
He's had, in the last 3 years, removing injury out, and he's been injured.
Yeah.
He's had more bad games than good, man.
All right. That would be a tough one anyways. Let's talk about another guy that you could possibly trade for who did play on that team, who was brought into a scenario similar to the one that we're in right now. Joe Flacco. Would you be pissed if we traded Joe Flacco? He's currently on the Colts, and he is the third string quarterback there. I would have liked to have seen that guy signed before preseason, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
With us.
I think that's the kind of move or the kind of player that I would have liked for us to have in the wing. Not what is it, Hobbs or Dobbs or whatever, and Skylar Thompsons of the world. I wanted, with this team and the way that they're supposedly, have this window and this offensive talent to make a run, you have to have a veteran quarterback as your backup.
Dude, and now with these new rules that you could, in effect, carry 3 quarterbacks without taking up 3 roster spots for them, that third or second quarterback position, I agree with you, 100%. It should be a vet that almost serves as another kind of coach, mentor guy that if you got to play him in a pinch, he's not going to crumble. You kind of know what you're getting,
Yeah.
It definitely, this team would have benefited from having a Joe Flacco type, one of those grizzled veterans.
A person I would have liked, but man, when I looked up his name just to remind me of how many teams he's been on, I didn't realize he was already over 40, and that's Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, but dude, he's been out of the league that name I heard too, but he's been out of the league
Yeah.
for a while, dude. That guy's probably not in any kind of shape to play.
Yeah.
And
that's a tough guy. That's a guy that I don't think threatened Tua that much, even though it was a little bit of a controversy there. A little bit.
Fitzpatrick was heartbroken when they
benched him.
Because I think we had just started to kind of click a little bit, and then all of a sudden, we thought at that time Tua was going to sort of sit out the whole year and maybe come in late in the season, and they just threw him into the fire early on. Yeah, I don't know, man. That game was kind of going downhill, and it was pretty much over at that point. But yeah, you would have liked to see him fight a little bit more after that, after the injury, but it sort of just got called a wrap. Yeah, dude, Fitzpatrick, I think is just too far removed from his playing. But I do love that guy, for sure.
Yeah, I think it comes down then to, if you're not going to make a move for somebody, let's say like Joe Flacco or something like that, then your best bet, age-wise and all things considered, is probably Ryan Tannehill. But it just, man, I'll tell you.
I was saving him for last, but we'll get into him. Let's jump right into him right now.
If they make that move, then I know they're serious and worried about trying to advance this team. If they don't make that move, I know they're not serious, man.
What do you think a sort of on the back end of his career, nobody was interested in him as a starter, obviously, otherwise he would be, Ryan Tannehill could do with this team right now? He would probably cost you about $8 million or less on a 1-year deal, which they could figure that out.
I will say this, even though I think that Ryan Tannehill is probably the best of what you could probably bring in, I say that based on age, recent play, that type of stuff. But he is negative to this type of offense. In other words, throughout his career, even when he was here, Tannehill does best in the play action kind of world, having a running game, working play action off an effective running game and throwing a pass here and there. He's not about having, a ton of wide receivers catching balls and throwing 80-yard touchdown passes. That's never been his game.
Yeah, he's not going to be getting the ball out in 2 seconds, probably.
No.
At any point.
No.
You would, obviously, as any coach would have to do, make adjustments if you went with that guy. But there probably is a way to make that work where you have these amazing skill position players where you could tweak the offense, play to his strengths, and make things work.
You would always be trying to set up the run first, to be able to have the play action and do what he does off that with these receivers then. So
yeah, I sort of have a sentimental thing with that. It'd be a nice story, right? Like if you're writing a book, comes back to his old team, that's a nice story.
And that may be the biggest killer of it, right? That he's been here before, and maybe some people didn't like him. Maybe there's still some people in the franchise. I don't know.
He did. I mean, I thought that guy never got a fair shake here with that offensive line and the weapons he was given and the coaches he was given and the offensive coordinators he was given over the years. And then, he had a couple good years up there in Tennessee under that kind of system that you talked about where he thrived in with, one of the better running backs. We got a good stable of backs here that they'd have to definitely change things. I don't know if they're up to, changing around so many things to make that work. But definitely that's the sentimental pick for me.
He went to an AFC championship, right?
He did. And I believe they lost to Brady.
Or the Chiefs.
Oh no, he beat Brady.
They beat Brady.
They may have beat him in his last game as a Patriot, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. But did they lose to the Chiefs?
I believe so. Yeah. We can fact check that.
Yeah. I thought he made an AFC championship.
He did, for sure.
And he would have lost to either the Chiefs or Brady, I would think.
If I'm not mistaken, in that run, they beat the Patriots, and they then proceeded to lose probably to the
or did they lose to the Texans?
No, they lost to KC.
In the championship?
Yeah. This was a good playoff run. In January 2020, AFC wildcard, they beat the Patriots. And then they beat Baltimore. And then in the AFC championship, they lost to KC.
Wow. That was a good run.
Yeah.
And that's three hard-ass teams, though.
I believe that's KC's first
year
Super Bowl win.
First Super Bowl.
Versus the Niners. And then 2021, they lose to Brady. And then 2022, they beat who did they beat? The Eagles, and then again the Niners last year. So that was a hell of a run. Yes, that was on the back of Derrick Henry, but still,
yeah,
great experience. How about this name that I've heard thrown around a little bit, not much, but a little bit? Bailey Zappi, practice squad, Kansas City Chiefs right now.
Yeah, I did. I think I mentioned when they cut old Frank Zappa there. Yeah, I don't know if he's better than Skyler.
Yeah, maybe somebody in the same mold. And the last one is just roll with Skyler, which is probably what's going to happen.
I think that's what they're going to do, man.
But
they have to get a third quarter. They have to get another quarterback if they don't have one on the practice squad, in case Skyler gets hurt.
They have to sign somebody for sure.
Yeah.
You don't want Boyle. You got to get somebody better than Boyle. I think that guy's 0-5 as a starter, if I'm not mistaken.
He threw us like 100-yard pick last year, right?
Yeah, stop getting the backups from the Jets, bro.
That's probably a bad move.
Yeah, if you're not good enough to be a backup on the Jets, we don't want
you. Probably don't want.
All right, can I give you some people that I don't want to see
that are likely that could be picked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least I've heard. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is a legit possibility, but to the people even bringing up Teddy Bridgewater,
I've heard two people bring Teddy Bridgewater up.
But dude, we sat there multiple games and saw this guy in person on the sideline. He looked like that was the last place he wanted to be in the world. Like his last couple of years looked so disinterested in football, and
he got hurt,
and he was getting concussions and getting hurt. I mean, they damn near amputated his leg at one other time. Like Jesus. That guy's, and I heard him on a podcast recently. He's like glad to have made it out the way he did, and I don't think that guy would come in. I don't know, fucking they throw $8 million at you, you may think about it, but like it ain't to be a backup. It's probably going to be to play if they sign you. So it's a different Teddy ball game if they call him now. Yeah. But I wouldn't want to see that.
No, definitely no snow caps for me.
Yeah. I've heard Blaine Gabbert's name mentioned. I wouldn't care for that at all.
No.
I've heard Josh Johnson's name mentioned.
That guy's name is always mentioned.
Well, yeah, maybe they're just trying to complete the infinity stone of teams so he can play on all teams. I think that guy's been like in double-digit teams and multiple times on
He's
some.
trying to break Fitzpatrick's record if he hasn't already.
Yeah. I heard Kenny Pickett's name mentioned. Kenny Pickett.
Well, I the only thing interesting about that would be to give that guy another look through and see. Seemed like maybe Pittsburgh gave up on that guy a little quick, but I don't know.
You know, that guy I would have liked to have seen in preseason or preseason. Dude, picking up Justin Fields for a 2025 sixth rounder should have been like a no-brainer if you had a chance to do that.
Yeah.
That's what the Steelers did. He started for them. I know he didn't win the game himself. They did win the game.
Yes.
So that would have looked pretty good to have in your back pocket right now. You know, somebody who, is dynamic, and I don't know. I thought that was like, what's the harm in a flyer there, unless you're afraid of some sort of controversy. Okay, a couple more names that I don't really care for myself. Sam Howell.
That guy's got a good arm, man. But I think he's in Seattle, right?
Yes, he is somewhere. Some of these guys you'd have to trade for. He led the league.
By the way, I agree with this guy.
Grier has, I'm not like the biggest fan, but he has done some really great moves, some bad moves, and the whole Tua thing, it's all going to boil down at the end, his whole GM career, to the Tua pick and the handling thereof after the pick. Because, the move was to make him play out his contract. That was the move.
But why? Because you were hoping he'd get injured?
No, you're not hoping he gets injured. Me personally?
No, I'm saying just in general.
No, nobody wants him to get injured. But you know that there's
what are you hoping? You're giving yourself another year to see if you don't have to pay him?
No, you're making him prove that last year was not an anomaly, that you can stay healthy another year, and then we start thinking about really extending you. Now, we're not only on the hook financially. Ross is a fucking billionaire. If he has to pay out of pocket, whatever, but it's a cap implication as well, which now further handcuffs the team's finances as far as what we can do if this guy cannot return, or if he returns and cannot be effective or cannot stay on the field. That's the move. You make him play and prove it. Now who knows?
Well, in their mind, he did, right? He played 1 year, and that was good enough for them, apparently.
Obviously, the wrong move. Because had you made him play out his contract, you don't have these future cap implications that you do now. I'm not even worried about the money they got to pay him. If they got to pay him, they got to pay him. But the cap is what really fucks you up, because now your finances are.
Look, it's very easy to focus on Tua and all this, but it's not the way that I look at it, because I look at this as another. It's looking like, let me clarify. It's looking like, another of the many GMs that we've had that have screwed up, the organization.
But let's give credit where credit's due. I think his biggest sin is the whole Tua thing. But Tyreek,
well, no,
hell of a move.
I mean, we got to give him that one. The Tua thing, again, that's a big one, because when you get the quarterback wrong, it's a big deal.
And when you get him right, that could cover up a lot of stink on a lot of other stuff.
Absolutely. But there's a lot of other things, the constant searching for us an offensive line. There's, that freaking corner we drafted. I mean, there's
terrible pick. That was a terrible pick.
I mean, heck,
the whole
Tua draft may be a complete wasteland.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm not a Grier guy, but I got to give him Tyreek. That was a good one.
That was great.
Waddle, we are lucky that he's turned out to be a great player. I didn't like that we had to give up 2 first-round picks to get him.
To me, I don't think the Waddle move was good. I understand he plays well. Okay, but for what you had in hand and what you ended with, and by the way, he's kind of injury prone too.
He shuttles in and out of a lot of games.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more attention could have been paid with those picks to the offensive line. They did try, but knowing those deficiencies, they should have kept that pick and drafted Jamar Chase. Hindsight's 2020, obviously.
Yeah.
But that was another thing for Tua. You know what I mean? That was tied into Tua. Do you think they would have traded up to get somebody else like Waddle that wasn't his former Alabama teammate? You don't think that had like a ton to do with that pick or that whole move?
I'm sure that was a big consideration. Oh, wow. We're like people think in fantasy, we're going to double stack. We have the quarterback and we're going to get his receiver from college and they're going to have this incredible harmony. I'm sure it was a factor.
And a comfort level and a confidence level.
Yeah.
I've done it with this guy. I won a championship with this guy. I've done really well with this guy. Man, good. I'm feeling good about myself. Great. This team really wants me to succeed. That was a lot of it. Would they have traded up to get Jamar Chase? Probably not, because he didn't play with Tua in college.
Yeah. No, definitely. But I see all that as when I look at this, I look at the totality of what Grier hasn't done, and I think that's the problem. Tua didn't self-draft himself to the Dolphins. He didn't pay himself $200 million. All of that was engineered by Grier, and those are looking like very bad moves.
I like what Shang is bringing up here. That's the guy I thought they should have gotten to at that point. That guy has developed into a really good player, and that guy could have been a tremendous benefit to this team. It's not Penny Sewell. My eyesight's going bad. I don't know. We don't know because you would hope they don't, but they might have to trade a piece to get, if they find out that that's it, Tua's done. Say he retires, they might have to trade somebody if they want to not blow this up. But they just signed everybody, dude. They just signed Tyreek. They just signed Waddle. They just, they kind of built this to like, let's go. So it's going to be hard for them to blow this up without trying to do something. They may need to try to do something in a trade. Absolutely. It's tailor-made. Everything is tailor-made to him right now. All the plays, all the players, the philosophy, everything. Everything is tailor-made to his set, which is why he was able to do what he did last year in comparison to, his other seasons. I'll just throw out quickly a couple other names I've been hearing, and you can chime in here. Carson Wentz, also Kansas City. Heard that name. Mac Jones, heard that name. He's in Jacksonville. Trey Lance, he's in Dallas.
Wow, Trey Lance hasn't really even played.
Yeah. You know who they might end up getting? Which, whatever. But like right now, right away, because they could just get somebody now. They'll get somebody now probably to fill and then wait and then probably cut one of these guys, Boyle or whoever the guy they get to get the real guy if Tua can't come back. You know what I mean? So first you got to patch it with a body. C.J. Beathard. San Francisco guy. Started a bunch of games. Knows the offense. Familiar with McDaniel. I don't even know if he's anywhere, to be honest with you. Probably be real cheap.
Yeah, I don't. I'd be surprised if that guy's on a roster, but it's possible.
If I were setting the Vegas odds, he'd probably have very high odds of he's a free agent. Very high odds of being the guy that they end up going with right now. That's pretty much the list, dude, of all. Now let's look ahead. Let's say, and I'm not a draft Nick or big time college football guy, but if we have to draft, let's say he can't come back, or he does, and we just at the end of the season we know we have to draft. Let's say that. Do you have any thoughts on what you should target in the upcoming NFL draft?
I haven't even thought about that.
But that's a real possibility, right?
I guess.
I like Shedeur Sanders, dude. I know he just had some sort of surgery on his hand. I wouldn't mind.
They say he's very undisciplined, though.
Wow, come on, man. Imagine that guy's, that guy's balling out there, dude.
He's talking about Sam Howell.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, anything's possible. I think there would be better options out there. I don't know.
There's not really a ton of options.
Shank to Shank says, looks like Flores was right along. Hate to say it, but it's true.
What, that this guy is soft or not football? But what was his main thing again?
I mean, if you believe all the stuff going around, he just thought he didn't deserve to be there, that there was other people more deserving of him, that, he was never really happy with him. He would have rather had other guys than him. I don't know. I think it's clear that it was not the right pick at this point, right? With everything.
Well, I don't think it was the right pick then. Yeah.
Yeah, Herbert was obviously the way to go. There's no doubt about that. The 2-and-on people tried to fight that for a little while, but there should be no doubt at this point about that. But we don't have doesn't have a ton of stuff on his resume either. Yeah, I think that's coming. But you see things. That you could clearly.
He's a physical specimen. He has a good pedigree.
That you could clearly project to future success.
Yeah.
I honestly never saw that with Tua. I never saw. Yeah, that's it. He's got what we need to take us to the promised land.
Yeah. No.
The quarterback looks pretty good.
Cam Hamming.
Yeah.
346 yards and 5 touchdowns today.
Ball State. Well, he
balled all right.
State. Yeah. But against a little better competition, he had a very good game too against Florida. He will be available in the draft next year I'm not sure. Is he a senior?
I guess we'll have to see where we ultimately end up.
Yeah, another thing I've heard is Tank.
Yeah.
Do you think Tom Brady could run this offense? He likes that get the ball out fast shit.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Tua in that regard. He doesn't like to be touched. He doesn't like to be harassed. And they did tailor a lot of that offense into those little passes to, scrappy white guys going across the middle, and hitting the running back out on the, this kind of seems like something right up his alley. Fucking hate this guy. I fucking hate this guy. You know that, but
It's if you were to take out all your prejudices of Tom Brady whooping our ass over 20 years, and you were to, let's say the guy's name is Bomb Trady, and he had that resume, you'd be falling over to get him right now.
But you know what happens to that? I mean, even if we play that game, it's such a short. It's not a long-term move.
No, it's to run this fucking Corvette as fast as it can go for this season, and then you go and you draft somebody or sign somebody. It's to salvage the season with these tremendous weapons that you have. That you would feel like Brady's not going to crash the car. You feel like he knows how to drive that car, which we've talked about the quarterbacks now. I think we'd be remiss not to talk about the coach a little bit, which, dude, he continues to make the same type of mistakes over and over again. He doesn't seem like he's progressing the way he should be. I still see the same sort of timeouts being burned, the play call not getting in, going for it on every possible fourth down that you can. I can't say with last week the refusal to the run. He ran a lot last week on Thursday night. Almost to a fault, though, he ran.
Well,
couldn't adjust.
He only the offense seemed to be only a Chan. I mean, that was it.
Yeah, Jonu got his in last game, but they were just everything was underneath because they couldn't come up with any viable solution to that too deep defense. At one point, they finally started hitting the sideline a little bit, but like the adjustments are just not there when it doesn't work. So he either comes in with like this dope ass plan that's just gonna fucking blow him out of the water, or he comes in with one that doesn't work and says, "Screw it, man. We're just gonna keep trying this. Maybe it'll work eventually. Just keep going." And it just I see no in-game adjustment from him.
Well, and I guess if there's a criticism, right? A lot of people say, well, Tua shrinks under the big games, the big lights, all that. That's true. But you would have to say that about the game plans and the preparation, because in all of the big games, McDaniel's tricks and all that they seem to blow up in the other direction.
Dude, when they work so well. But when they don't work, there doesn't seem to be another trick or another, hey, let's go to over reliable here. This has been proven. This is our bread and butter. This is what we don't have that.
Yeah.
We have this crazy trick that we can do every once in a while, or sometimes we can do it a lot. But there doesn't seem to be like a backup plan.
And it seems like that happens in a lot of the big games, a lot of the prime games, even the primetime games that aren't against good competition, like losing to the Titans last year.
That was brutal.
4.
Yeah, I think that was last year. That was part of the slide last year.
Yeah, I mean,
if we win that game, I think we win the division. That was like the turning point of the season, and then we don't have to go, to Kansas City and freeze our buns off with another game that had no adjustments, that had late play calls, burnt timeouts. The Bills game that Skyler played, it was the same, late play calls. I don't know if that's all McDaniel, partly on Skyler or whatever, but it was just, it was just all that. If we don't have those delay of games that we had, I think sometimes like multiple delay of games in a row, we win that fucking game. Would have lost the next week probably, whatever, but still, man, we've been waiting 24 years for a playoff win. It's tragic. So, I don't know. You think he's on the hot seat at all?
I think believe it or not, I think he'd be more on the hot seat if Tua didn't get hurt and they had a bad season. Now they could use this as an excuse and a shelter.
Exactly. Now any poor performance will be overshadowed by the injury.
Yes.
To Tua. So it's almost like a free pass. They just extended him too. So they've just extended this whole thing to like go for it.
Yeah, they gave the seal of approval on this whole rebuild because that's what this is, right? This is a rebuild that is in what? The fourth or third year. I guess it's the fourth. Since
I would say
for Tua, getting Tua, I don't know. There may be people that may.
I would say legitimately this is the third year because the first year he was a rookie. The second year, I think this guy was still there, Flores. And then the third year you got Waddle. You brought in Tyreek. I think that this is the third year of that.
That's the other thing, right? Some people may count now this rebuild from the time that we got a good coach, right? Which is McDaniel. Right? But a lot of times these rebuilds count from the time that you get your franchise quarterback. That's when the clock starts ticking.
Look at this guy in the chat here. What's up, Chad? Yeah, I agree with you, brother. It has not progressed, that part of his coaching game.
It seems
and I gotta
to be
tell you another thing, dude.
Big games too.
Yeah, I gotta tell you another thing about him. I don't particularly care for him calling them my teammates. I know he's a very loving guy, and you gotta be the boss, bro. And when you're the boss, it's very hard to be the boss and be everybody's best friend. Like those two things almost don't. Look at this other frequent flyer we got over here. What up, dog? Big Remo?
What's going on, Remo?
It's very difficult to be buddy and be the boss, at the same time.
Yeah.
No doubt. I never heard a coach call their players teammates before. That's a first for me.
Yeah, never heard that either.
Yeah. So, I wish there was a way to fire Ross. Here's the only thing I'll say about Ross, and I can't say that about other teams that I follow, like the Marlins and some other franchises. He's willing to spend, obviously. He's willing to build a tremendous facility there besides the fucking parking that I don't like the parking situation, but he's willing to invest. Yeah, sucks big time. He's willing to invest in the team, the players, the facility, everything. He's just entrusted Grier, who's been there 24 years now, not in the same capacity, obviously. And, it just has not worked out. Big Remo says those cops put the voodoo on the team when they hemmed up Tyreek. Yeah, he got out of that though, and he had a great game. But yeah, that was messed up, dude. No, the only thing you could blame the owner in is he's the guy who puts the people in charge, And unfortunately, there's some owners who are football people, which is probably rarer nowadays, right? Most of it's just billionaires getting into football. Yeah.
That's their big thing, right? Until an owner doesn't find a quality football person, they're floundering. And I think that's what's happened to this guy.
At least the Band-Aid was ripped off early this year.
Yeah, somebody told me, hey, it's just the collapse is happening now, not in December.
Yeah. I mean, I am interested to see how a lot of this plays out. How Skyler plays, who they bring in, knowing that I think it's going to be that kind of thing. Like, we'll bring in just a guy, and then if we got to, then we'll go and bring a big guy. You do run the risk by not bringing in the big guy of somebody else falling into a similar situation and somebody else getting some of those guys off that list, which it happens every year, right? Like Ryan Tannehill is not going to sit at home all year, right?
No.
Tom Brady's name is going to keep coming up every time a legitimate contender loses their quarterback for any extended period of time.
Right. I guess what we have to figure out about Ryan Tannehill, right, is the only like 4 teams. There's only 4 teams he'd play for, the Chiefs, the Eagles, Baltimore, and Buffalo, something like that. Is that like the level of team that he would consider coming back for? Because they say, well, things have to be right. Well, is that the level of team that he's looking for, or would he play for a Bengals or a Houston or a Colt team or even a Miami team? Yeah, maybe playoff contenders, maybe not win their division. I mean, it sounds to me when he talks or the statements through his agent that he's looking like cream of the crop. If the cream of the crop needs him.
I'll give you the quote from, this is not a quote. This is from sources. Sources say this is for Ryan Tannehill to sign with the team. Sources say it would take a playoff contender. We're going to check that box, right? Before the injury, we were playoff contender. So playoff contender, right?
Okay.
In need of a quarterback, check that box. A team with a strong offensive line. That box we're not going to check.
No.
You're not going to have everything, Ryan. Offensive weapons.
We have that.
There's nobody better, probably, I would dare to say. Who has better weapons?
And
if we're going to argue, we could probably split hairs about it, right?
Yeah, we could. I mean, I like Houston's weapons. Obviously, I like Kansas City's weapons. I like the Eagles.
Just give me that we're in the conversation for the best weapons in the NFL.
Yeah, we are.
He's not going to say, you know what, I would have signed, but they don't have the weapons. He won't say that. And the money would also have to be right. So that, I'm sure,
so
the magician, he can figure that out.
The two biggest things on that list that we have trouble with is the offensive line and the money.
They'll figure out the money. I'm sure they can figure that out. What they won't figure out is the offensive line. He's gonna have to not have everything. So I don't think there's a way that if they give him the money that he's looking for, that he says, you know what, I'm gonna pass on this opportunity. It might be his dream opportunity for him personally. Oh shit, I get to go back and there's some unfinished business here, and maybe, look at what I have there now as opposed to what I had there before. I'm thinking him, what he could possibly be thinking. I could definitely see that. If it's the right fit or he can make it work, that's another thing. But that's what he says.
And again, are they really super sensitive and concerned about creating an unnecessary quarterback controversy? That may be a big part of what scares them.
Have you ever heard any other franchise have that concern in a time of need?
No.
Don't you always want, and I realize it's the quarterback position, but you always want the best competition. You're not going to sign a $10 million backup at every position, but you always want competition. Usually that brings out the best in everybody. I'll give you an example. That last year when they brought in Mahomes, Alex Smith had like an MVP level type season. That lit a fire under his ass because now all of a sudden there was somebody. I don't know if he was going to do it anyways or not. Yeah, Chad, he wasn't the GM for 24 years, 100%, but he's been here throughout a lot of kind of crappy stuff, dude. Yeah, I don't know, man. If you don't have a football guy what you can ask for your owner. What can you ask from your owner? Give us money. Let us. You don't know. Let us be the guys who know. What you could blame the owner for is not firing people. You know,
Yes.
you could blame him for that. But you can't say the guy hasn't been willing to put up money. Should he fire the GM? I think I'm ready to do. I'm close to one of those fucking trident things that I do, or like get rid of the quarterback, get rid of the GM, get rid of the fucking coach. You know, which they never do. They've never done anything like that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I brought this up last show, but it is well, and Al Michaels caught some heat for saying this, by the way, saying how ironic it was that DeMar Hamlin was the guy on the hit that knocked Tua.
Why would that be controversial?
Some people felt it was insensitive. I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's what they said.
Wow.
That he caught some heat for that. I don't know. It was kind of a weird situation, right? That the guy who almost died on the field or did die medically, I don't know, is the guy involved in that collision.
Well, and also goes to show you that the Buffalo Bills were not the same team that they were. A lot of people were saying this was the year to beat them because they've lost so many. They had a very similar situation like us where they lost a lot of key free agents and stuff.
Yeah, you know, I read a couple articles saying that this is kind of just what Josh Allen needed, more responsibility. And they do have like a bunch of kind of scrappy kind of guys. If you look around, you know, right now, there's no superstar other than obvious Josh Allen and Von Miller, who's like an aging sort of superstar.
Those people beat us by like what, 20 points, and Josh Allen had less than 200 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, if the first half was, I would venture to say the defense has not been terrible this year. They shut down the Jags in the second half. They came up with a game-saving play after that long run to open up the second half from Cook, who absolutely cooked us. There was no more points scored. So if there ever was going to be a comeback, they did after that play. But we got put in a hell of a spot with the 3 picks and at least one turnover on downs with the 4th down going for it situation. Shang to Shang, yes, they would have to change things for sure for Tannehill. As Chad is saying. Chad, have you come over to the Tannehill possibility at all, or are you just absolutely against that? Dude, and Tyreek is just absolutely he's the spark that just runs the whole. He makes so much other stuff easier for everybody else. That's just
I mean, that's the critical piece here, man.
Trade for Fields or Dobbs. Yeah, Dobbs, I would think that's a possibility. Fields, they could have had him for a 6th-round pick, just like the Steelers got him. We talked about Wilson a little bit. I don't know the logistics of that. That would definitely be just running through some of the comments here. Grier went cheap on the O-line. It will show now that Tua's hurt. He was getting rid of the ball fast. Yeah, we're going to find that out for sure. That's going to be on full display. Remember when the O-line was not bad last year? Definitely had to do with the scheme and quick passes to mask the lines being inefficient. Yes, but they kept Tua clean, with the scheme. Obviously, that had something to do with it. But they figured out a way to do it. We got stuff to trade, bro. I don't know if they want to trade that stuff, though. There's a way to get some of these lower level guys on trades. They'll never do a fire everyone at once. I agree with that. No, they never have. And at some point, you got to stop leaving remnants behind. I don't think they're ready to do that. They got to figure out a way to get the most out of what they got going right now. Ross needs to fire everyone and hire a replacement GM with a good history. Yeah, who would you bring in? That's the question. Who would you bring in? I don't even know how to. I haven't done enough research on who you would bring.
Yeah, I haven't even. I've been thinking about the quarterbacks. I haven't even gone to let's fire the GM level, even though, again, I think all of these troubles stem back to him.
Yeah, it's like a mixed bag, though, at best, because he has had some good stuff, too. You know, like the running back stable that he's built here is pretty good. You know, that's pretty good running back stable.
I guess he's one of those guys that for every good move he has like at least a bad move.
Yeah, I mean, first round picks are 50-50, especially at the quarterback position. You know, there's always going to be misses. You're not always going to hit. But yeah, his story's going to boil down to Tua. Defense, Chad says, defense actually played well against the Bills. The turnover, giving up the short field is what really, yeah, dude. I mean, the defense can only do so much, man. You're going to keep giving the ball back. You know, one of those scores was direct. It was a pick six. So, you know,
yeah,
take that one off the board, if you will. We got the top two defense in the NFL when we were completely healthy. Now with Justin Poyer, Chop, and Campbell. Yeah, the defense could be improved, you know, even with the guys.
We're still waiting for Bradley Chubb.
Chad says, I don't think Tannehill gets us over the hump. Think it will look just a little better than Skyler. So I'm not like, go get him. But if they did, I can see why. Tua also did not put himself in bad situation last year. That's why he played a full season. What he did Thursday night, stupid. At this point, you have to save himself from himself. A-Chain is a real deal. Shank says Tua should retire and Miami should draft Art Manning. He's a freshman, dude. I don't even think you could draft him next year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think you got to be at least a junior, right? You can't get drafted as a freshman, right?
I didn't think you could.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he brings up why pay Ramsey, and Ramsey has not looked good. Would you say?
Yeah, that's the problem, and that the corner area has been hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
We lost Howard last year. Now this guy's not playing well.
Yeah, A-Chain's a fucking player, dude. A-Chain's a player, and the thing that's pretty amazing is he's like
5'8", 170 pounds.
But he could run a little bit inside, and he's not even like the focal point. He's just like a kind of guy you bring in there, makes a lot of catches.
The third down guy.
Yeah, Chad, I think you hit the nail on the head. 2026 is the moment. We can't wait that long to draft Arch Manning. That's going to be after we blow up the current team, possibly. We may be able to draft him, but they can't wait for that. They got to go, you know, they got to go get the best available. He could be a receiver. Absolutely. A-Chain could be a receiver. I could see him. Yeah, especially since you have Jalen Wright. I could see if OBJ doesn't come back, you know, him doing more of that, playing as a receiver. Definitely has the skills for all that. What was the point? I was about to bring something up right now. I just lost my train of thought. All right. Anything else about this situation? Oh, this is what I want to say. I just want it to be fast. You know what I mean? the worst thing for this team is going to be a drawn out process of we got differing opinions. He can't make up his mind. And then it's week
that's
8.
what I envision.
That's exactly what's going to happen. Probably.
Yeah.
It's week 8 and he's been cleared, but he's not practicing. And then they still have that thing that you say that they don't want to bring in any real competition for any quarterback controversy. And meanwhile, you're falling behind in the standings and you're getting to a point where you're going to lose the year, whether he comes back or not. And you didn't, like there's not a clean break, which is probably what's going to happen because it's a complicated situation. Although he has said that he thought about retiring already last time. So it's not like
really?
Yeah, he said that he gave it some serious consideration previously.
Well, knowing that, then I could say that, yeah, I didn't know that. I guess.
Chad, you're the expert. You're the expert on Tua. Fact check me on that. He did say that, right? That he gave serious thought to retiring the first time around with the injuries.
Then you would think that this time around it would be like, hey, it's happened again.
72 on the feed. It says they can't get anyone good. It will hurt McDummy and Tua's feelings. How about them Canes? Oh, yeah. I hope he retires soon so we can move on. Shang Tu Shang says. Mostert and Etienne are the best duo at running back. Well, yeah, and then we also have the best duo at receiver. What they haven't been able to figure out is that 10 end, but I have hope that with Jonah now it's a little bit better. The Smythe was brutal, and Jonah was bad on the first week too.
Yeah.
Ward putting together Heisman resume. Yeah, he's doing well, dude. But he will not retire because there is too much money on the table. Yeah, it's hard. It's that's a tough one, dude.
Yeah.
He's potentially leaving over $100 million if he decides to retire.
Oh, that's something you didn't go over. What are the different scenarios and what happens if he retires by his own will versus, the NFL saying he's medically unfit, or how does that all work?
Okay. Let's look at that. Tua's retirement could impact his $212 million contract with the Dolphins. Here's all you need to know. Reading an article from the Economic Times. I'm trying to get to the nitty-gritty of this. 167 million is guaranteed. Most of the guarantees are not absolute.
What did you say?
167 million
is guaranteed.
100. Yeah, 100. And let me go ahead and share this screen if I can. 167 million is guaranteed.
Okay, so you're going to work from there to 167 million is guaranteed now.
Yeah. So it's about 80% of the total cost of the 4-year contract. He can keep the entire package if he's never giving the go-ahead to resume playing football. Thus, the Dolphins would be responsible for 167 million. Now, whose doctor? Is it Tua's doctor? Is it an independent doctor? Is it the Dolphins doctor? I don't know that part of it.
Yeah, that's an important question.
And then I did read that there's an insurance policy, which it might get to here. And this, if the 205 million guaranteed signing bonus would be voided if he voluntarily retires. Retirement voids guarantees, and the Dolphins could honor the guarantee if they choose to, which that may be
so if he
come into play.
if he retires on his own, right?
Mm-hmm.
All bets are off. He doesn't get squat.
He will get a portion, but he won't get. There's a part that was a bonus that he's going to get no matter what. But the remaining 167, from what I understand, comes into play whether he chooses to retire or not. And I think this, it boils down to him walking away from $124 million, which, like they say in this article, could lead to a grievance. There could be some negotiation. All right, Tua, he's like, I don't know if I'm going to retire. Like, okay, we'll make it easier for you to retire. We'll give you X amount, if you're concerned about, you know what I mean? If you don't necessarily want to walk away from this much money, what we could do so we can move on and you're secure is we could, we'll give you X amount. I don't know if the league gets involved with any of the cap implications.
Well,
is this sort of like an unprecedented scenario?
Well, I will say this, that I was reading that this has the eyes of the world are on this, from the sense that, the whole concussion thing, as you know, is a big thing with the NFL. They're very sensitive to it. There's all kinds of litigation. Well, there's all kinds of litigation. How they treat this Tua thing has a lot of implications for what they do in the future, and who
it's gonna set
out a precedence that maybe God knows what it is. Yeah, God knows what it's gonna be. Oh my God, we gotta take these athletes out of here faster than we can't let them decide if they're going to play because they could come back and sue us, whatever the case might be. There's all kinds of decisions that are going to come up that both the league, the Players Association, right? Because, this is a union after all for the players, right? All of that's in play, and all of that's going to be looked at, because there's going to be other Tuas. There's going to be other injury type situations, and people are going to be looking at this.
Yeah, the bottom line is if he gets cleared and he wants to play, they're going to let him play. The Dolphins are not going to step in and say, no, you can't play. That's McDaniel in a presser was like, please don't talk about retirement. Like, if he gets cleared and he wants to play, they're gonna roll him out here, and he's gonna play.
That I'm sure of. If there's any chance that he could play, he will.
Chad, but the guarantee, $167 million, is only if he gets that, if he gets medically retired, like they tell him that he has to retire. If he gets cleared and he walks away from the game, he's also walking away from those guarantees. Only 214, but only 67 million with injuries if a doctor says you cannot play. But if he gets cleared, he's making the choice to walk away, and he's also walking away from that money, from everything I read. No, it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more, yeah. 72 undefeated here. Let me run through some of these comments. Says, hard lesson to learn. Should have played on the 5th, and people need to be fired. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. Absolutely. Without a doubt, with his history. And I'm not first guessing. I'm not second guessing. I said it to whoever would listen. They should have made him play out his 5th year. And furthermore, You could have franchise tagged him. And yes, I understand people's feelings get hurt and it creates a bad situation. We're talking about a lot of money, and we're talking about the future of the franchise that you built. I would have made him play. But, there's no way they were going to do that. Chad says, sadly, I don't think he will retire, and we will see this again, which will lead to retirement. Well, it's obvious that it's going to happen again. It's amazing that it didn't happen last year, if we're being honest. Dylan says, go ahead.
Why do you say it's amazing? Sorry.
No, go ahead. We'll get back to the comments. What do I say? It's amazing that he made it.
That it didn't happen again.
That it didn't happen last year?
Yeah.
Because he's never played a full year. Odds are he was going to continue to not play a full year. If you look at his career, it's the one anomaly. It's the year that's not like any of the other years, dating back to college. It's the 1 year that he completed. That's why I say it. Just based on odds, based on math. If you have 7 years and none of the years you finished the whole year, and then this year you did, that's an anomaly. That's the one that's not like all the others.
Right.
And you're more likely to not do it again. Let's see. Let me run through some of these comments here. If Tua can stay on his feet and the offensive line will protect better, we will be a playoff contender, no doubt. But Dylan, that was not a breakdown of the offensive line. That was him tucking the ball and trying to get a first down and thinking he was Jim Brown, or I don't know who he was thinking he was on that play. So while I agree that we don't have the best offensive line, that's not the reason that he got hurt. He made a bad decision, obviously, on that play, and that was to try to lead with his head on a run, which easy for me to say here, drinking my bourbon and smoking my cigar, but he had the first down. He could have slid. Shank Toussaint says, will he play the same or with fear? Well, you got to think that if that thing was in the back of his head before, that's got to be on the front of his head. No pun intended. For sure, if he comes back. Dylan says, honestly, I think he won't retire because he has too much love and dedication to this work. Obviously, the guy, by all accounts, is a good guy, loves the game, wants to be a football player, wants to win. I don't think anybody ever doubted. Should he? Another question. 72, Chad says, 72, you're not wrong, but I knew he was going to get paid. Grier planted that flag and chose flow. He was going to die on that hill because if he did not, would not be his problem. And he is on life support. Matthew, he hates life. Matthew, it's not so bad. In the words of Eminem, it's not so bad. We're gonna get through this. What else do we have here? So we will be lucky to be 5-12 with Tua 7-10. Tua was bad in both games. Anyway, we should be 0-2. I don't think you probably won't run across a bigger Tua hater than me. I can't say he did bad in week 1. I mean, he put up some numbers. The first half was not great. I don't think McDaniel helped him in that Jags game by not running the ball at all. He was absolutely terrible in this Bills game. One bounced off somebody's shoulder. The other one ran the wrong route. The other one, he couldn't throw it out, whatever. At the end of the day, he was not good in this game. He thought he was just Allen, just unaware of who he was as a football player. Sad. Yeah, a man's got to know his limitations, right? I hope a doctor forces him to try and we can move on from Tiny Tua. I am with you, brother, on that, and I hope it happens quick. I don't want the drawn-out scenario. Fins and Fantasy Insider says, people are blaming the line or Hamlin. Dude, Hamlin just happened to be an object
standing there. Like, I don't even call that a tackle. Like, he was forced into a tackle. Hamlin did not even really try to hit him. Tua decided to run into him on his own. I seen a video of Bills players saying they were hoping he was going to slide. I mean, 9 out of 10 times, even bigger quarterbacks will just slide on that play because they've accomplished the goal. Like, what was he trying to prove with that? Chad says, Matthew, this is typical Dolphins shit. Should be immune to this by now. I wish we had drafted Lamar.
That was an option.
Yeah, we could play that game all night.
And the owner wanted him too.
That says that was probably one of the softest tackles. I can't even call that a tackle. I've seen he squared up and just embraced it head first.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just happened to be there. And luckily, can you imagine if that was like Hamlin was a corner, I believe, up until now. Can you imagine if that was one of the hard-hitting safeties? Like, we've never seen Tua really get blown up like you see guys get blown up from time to time. Because on some of these concussions, most of them have been him getting sort of ragdolled. Not this last one, but the previous ones, including the one that they don't call a concussion, that was a back injury against the Bills, which is the only time we beat the Bills in the last 4 or 5 years. It was mostly him getting ragdolled and his head bouncing off the turf, causing. Yeah, but we've never seen like a blitzing safety or a linebacker come in and just, unload. Like, I don't want to imagine what something like that would look like. He did get blown up by Buddy in Buffalo with ribs. Yeah, I do remember something. But it wasn't one of those concussion type ones where they hit you high and you just well, this name wasn't mentioned that Ferdinand Firmament brings up. Tyler Huntley's available. He costs nothing and he's a winner. I don't know. He might be one of those intermediate guys. Shout out to the fucking chat today, dude. We had a lot of fucking action on the chat today.
Yeah. Where'd that come from?
Hey, dude, we're talking some good shit here, bro. The people appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Carson Wentz, we brought up that name, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
that ship has sailed.
How much more are you going to get out of Carson Wentz?
The ship Wentz. How much? That guy's an injury-prone guy too.
Is he? Yeah. Is he better than Skylar Thompson though, or is he Charissa Thompson?
I don't know if he's better than Skylark.
I wouldn't. My toes wouldn't be tingling there with Carson Wentz. You'd have to trade for him. He's on the Chiefs right now. I'd rather get the other guy in the Chiefs, Zappy, if we're going to get somebody from the Chiefs. I just don't know. But if you really thought about it on the outside world, dude, Brady's probably your best bet if you had to fucking... If you have to give it a try.
Yeah, I can't imagine that he's got way too many things happening. Well, no, I mean he's on TV now and he's got the ownership bid that he's doing. I don't know how he then suddenly becomes a player again.
He might not be interested.
And then, there's the whole tampering thing.
You like this guy that he's mentioned. Well, now there's no tampering. He's a free agent. You can tamper all you want.
But it would probably cement the idea that we were initially.
Yeah, I think that lawsuit's still going on, right?
We probably should have signed Minshew.
Yeah, that was Baker was another one at the time that made would have made sense. You know, he parlayed that into a pretty good contract with the Bucks, but they got him, even though I'm sure for Baker, he would have never chose to be the backup, knowing that he could be a starter, you know, somewhere. So I don't know about that one. Brady will not play against behind this cheap O-line. Probably not, man. Brady probably, yeah, he might take a pass on it. All right. So if I give you the GM position right now, Bum, I'm going to give it to myself after you. Oh, but bro, I don't want to see Derek Carr, Pins and Fantasy Insider. I'm not a fan of that guy. But Baker was on the cheap, but then again, Jimmy G right now would cost too much money, and I don't think he's worth it. Carl Thomas says, you cut Mike White, who is now with the Bills practice squad. Do you think the Dolphins would try to take him back, or he's not the right fit? No, man, we've been there, done that. I've heard that name, but I don't want to go back to Mike White. I don't want to go back to Fitzpatrick. I don't want to go back to as much as I love Fitzpatrick.
Tim Boyle.
I don't want to go back. No, I definitely want to see Tim and his boils in there. I don't want to go back to Teddy Bridgewater and his snow cap. I've heard Mac Jones' name, who I think is the guy Flores wanted. Yeah, I'm with you, Chad. I'm good on Jimmy G, especially since I think he's playing a fucking huge contract, dude. Still, I don't know the implications, but yeah, usually you can't get guys within the division anyways, but you know, if I were the Bills, I wouldn't block the White move. I'd be like, yes, give them back Mike White, dude. We won't block it at all. You can have him. Mike White and Skyler are the same. Skyler's still on a rookie contract. Yeah, that was the other thing about the Mike White situation, where they paid him like a decent amount, which is, I guess, why you're forced to make him. They might have been forced just with the contract that they gave him to make him the backup, even though they had to keep both of them on the roster. I don't think either one of them were on the practice.
But Mike White is with Buffalo, right?
Yes, he is. That's why Shang Tushan was saying the Bills would probably block the White move. There's guys on practice squads that you could pick up, but again, with that 3 quarterback rule right now, a lot of guys are protected, so it's not like it was a couple years ago that you could just scavenge off people's practice squad for a backup. Okay, so Vincent Fantasy says we really need to trade for a good backup. If we cannot get Tannehill to sign, you got to have a good arm and able to compensate for the speed, the offensive line, which means timing as well. Yeah, that's never really been Tannehill's strong suit. I'm giving you the GM position on the Miami Dolphins. What are you doing? Obviously, there's some unknowns. We don't know what's up
for this immediate situation.
Yeah, we got one quarterback spot to fill.
Okay, and I'm not worried about Tua's. I'm not worried about quarterback controversies. I'm not worried about upstaging Tua with anybody. So I would try to bring in Ryan Tannehill.
Right now, without knowing if Tua's coming back or not coming back, or regardless, you're calling Tannehill tomorrow and you're signing him.
I mean, unless they're telling me that by in the next couple days, we'll know if he could play the next 2 or 3 games, then I'm holding that decision. But if they're not giving me, if it's, we'll just have to wait and see, that I'm getting Tannehill now.
You're signing him up, and that's okay. I got to tell you, I 100% agree with you. Yes, you're going to have to change things, but there's 2 types of coaches, right? There's coaches that this is my system and you got to fit my system. And then there's coaches, well, there's not 2 types of coaches, but this is my personnel and I got to tweak what I'm doing to base on your on your skills. What's up, Papa Hog? So yeah, man, I'm calling Tannehill, and I guess would he sign based on knowing the fact that maybe this guy comes back, and when he comes back, you're going to be the backup? Or would he say, I'm not coming back unless I'm named starter?
Right. And, that's another, there's a lot of things there. Like, does Tannehill, is part of Tannehill's requirement that the starting quarterback is gone and he's not returning the rest of the season, he's going to play out the rest of the season? That may be one of his requirements. Not, hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to cover for a few games, and then I'm going to go back to the bench. He probably doesn't want to do that.
Good morning, Crazy Dolphin. I don't know. Are we giving him too much credit for that, or will he be just happy that he got a call for X amount of dollars to go back to his old team to at least start for a certain amount of games, and he'd be happy with that?
I think he may have just a lot of prerequisites that for him to come and play football, all these things have to be met. And I'm just saying, if one of them is, okay, the starting quarterback is out and now he's replacing him and he's going to be playing the rest of the year, that may be one of them, one of the requirements.
I don't know, because he did go to Tennessee as a backup, and then got that job eventually.
Yeah.
When another name that's been brought up, Mariota, was there, and then he got replaced. So they tried to replace him. I mean, they drafted the kid who just got signed somewhere, Malik.
Well, they traded him, yeah.
Willis, right?
They traded
at one point.
Willis.
At one point, they drafted him to replace him.
Yeah,
and then
second round.
Will Levis was drafted to replace him. So he's had that. He's had that sort of humbling experience already. So I don't know how many requirements other than the ones that we've talked about he may have. Well, I gotta highlight this. I think Chad's agreeing with me. This is a highlight of my career. Randy, I think you may be right. Maybe we looking too much into it, because if he comes in and is winning and Tua comes back, why change it? Be a prove it moment for Tannehill. He had to throw in the Tannehill. I don't know. It just kind of sounds sort of poetic, the whole bringing him back and all that. I think he'd be into it, dude. It's possible, Fins and Fantasy Insider says, it's possible Tannehill could sign with the talent available, but I heard he wanted a starting position and has been waiting to sign and rejected others for being a backup. Yeah, this one may be a little bit different, where you're going to get to start right away. We don't know how long. Maybe, once he comes back, you won't be the starter. But then you're just another hit away from being the starter again. Yeah, Jimmy G is familiar with this offense. Obviously, he is serving out a PD suspension right now, and I don't know the contract implications of that, because he's on a pretty hefty contract, which I don't think there's a way to figure that out. Cousins just signed, dude. I don't think there's any way. The moment to get Cousins passed.
Yeah, he's playing for Atlanta as their starter. I mean, he may end up getting benched.
Yeah,
because
maybe he becomes available.
Because he hasn't played well, and they drafted Penix, and Penix is sitting there.
Yeah, and he may go and play. But that contract, the time to do that passed. He's on a big contract, right?
Pretty big for a guy who's a bridge quarterback, supposedly.
That guy has like the best agent of all time. He signed for 180 million, 50 million signing. When you hear 180 million for Cousins, the Tua deal doesn't sound that crazy, right? And includes a $50 million signing bonus, $100 million guaranteed, $90 million in 2024 and 2025, plus another $10 million in 2026. Jesus.
Yeah,
There's no way to make that happen probably in any sort of scenario. That would be, yeah.
I don't think that's feasible. All right, so Ryan Tannehill
is the consensus. We'll see, man. I hope it happens fast.
Yeah, that's the
Ryan
one
Tannehill,
thing that
McDaniel
I'm not confident in.
No, brother, it's going to be a drawn-out drama process. The clearing, even if he decides to retire, the financial implications.
Unless the doctors give him like a really grim prognostication, right?
But
That's
whose
probably the
doctors are
only
these?
way. Yeah. That's probably the only way it's fast. If they tell him you need to quit, if not, the next blow could be your last.
I'll tell you, man, I watch a lot of boxing. I don't know if Canelo's already fighting tonight. I haven't seen boxers get knocked out in that fashion often. The way, the two more serious ones that he's had. If he were a boxer and he had that one against the Bengals and this one just a few days ago, they might not license him to continue fighting. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen a boxer like that?
I've never seen anybody in the what they call the fencing response. That has been introduced to me because of the Tua scenarios.
Yeah, I've seen involuntary movements after knockouts. Guys try to get up and they fall again, and they're still
no.
Obviously,
yes. I've seen that. I've seen, they go to stand up and they keel over, or they're walking in the wrong direction, but not the whole curling thing.
Yeah, Papa Hog here. We have to sign a QB that's better than Skyler. Yes,
but you do have to sign somebody.
Regardless.
I don't know if they're going to take it. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to go like the two-step scenario where we just sign a body
and wait and see,
or we're going to go all in regardless of whose feelings get hurt here because too much is on the line. The season's on the line, and we just got to bring in the best guy available. It would be lame to think that they're just going to get like Beathard, Then you're not going all in, right?
Yeah.
Then you're worried about other shit that's not winning.
Man, if they get like a Tannehill or trade for like a Flacco or something, then I know that they're serious. Anything else, and I know that they're just kind of just playing the result.
But you can't put a player above the team.
Well,
it's like a philosophical thing, right?
I understand maybe in baseball where you hold on to your 20-year all-star veteran, even though you got a guy in the wings waiting for one more season. It's not that type of scenario. It's the quarterback of your team that, has some serious aspirations, supposedly. You can't worry about whose feelings get hurt. And I think McDaniel is a good coordinator, probably not a great coach. Chad says, as much as we invest into the season, we have to go get someone, even if it does not work out. You have to take a shot.
Is the McDaniel the McDaniel thing kind of wearing off on you? You think he's part of the problem?
Part of the overall problem?
Yes.
Of not winning big games? 100%. He's in charge. His game day adjustments and coaching have been bad, and they're not getting better. I realize that the players probably love him, and there's a probably happy atmosphere, but I don't think with the amount of talent that there is on that team that we've gotten the results that everybody was expecting, which is 1-2 playoff losses, which one we should have won. And I almost directly attribute that loss to him because there was a lot of delay again. Him and Skyler, I guess, communication-wise, I don't know. Something should have been done to not have those repeated delay of game penalties in that game. What if Tua comes right back and gets us to the playoffs? Yeah, but then you gotta go back to the other reality of, okay, what is he going to do in those big games? Because up until now, he has not even been able to win any of those games. I'll give you that it would have been a way better shot if we would have got a home playoff game. But he had chances to also avoid that, and he didn't. Yes, I realize he's one player on the team, but up to now, even if he comes back, nothing is guaranteed. Chat says, terrible game day managers does not know how to manage the clicks, timeouts, has not won a challenge play coming in late with 10 seconds left. Yeah, his challenge record has not been good. Fins and Fannies and Sarge says, I think McDaniel is a good coach and we stop throwing on 3rd and 3 all the time. I swear every time we need to run the ball to get the first down, he does the opposite. I could do without going for it on 4th down every time as well. Yeah. Papa Hawk says, go ahead, bum.
I wonder what his 4th down percentage
It's not good.
It can't be good. It can't be good.
No. Yeah, it's not. I'll see if I can get the numbers real quick here. But it's well below the league average. That I know. Yeah, I don't know. I know I've looked into that in the past, and his 4th down percentage is well below. Papa Hawk says, Tua shouldn't come back. Everybody will be worrying about him getting hit, and opponents are going to be trying to tee off on him because they are playing to win and knows he's the best that we have. Now, as much as you can blame Tua, you can blame McDaniel. I think they are hand in hand with each other. Yes, dude. Did you see that sweet little kiss? McDaniel is a Jerry Glanville. I heard somebody say this on the Amazon telecast post game. Everyone likes him, but in a big game, he never shows up. Run and shoot. Wow. He was exciting and fun, though, to watch. Leaving his tickets for Elvis and his cowboy hat. McDaniel, Chad says, McDaniel's always allergic to calling back-to-back run plays, especially when the run is working. He did run a lot this game, though, dude, right? Like almost too much for my taste. Did you get that feeling or?
Yeah. I just, not only that, but just how everything was to a chain is like, that was kind of weird.
Yeah, everything was around the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage, Jonu, A-Chain, and not much to the receivers. Nothing to really soften up that part of the field that they were giving you. At the end, they finally started hitting the sideline, but not nearly enough and not anything to make them change what they were doing, you know? So
I read one thing that the caption was something like Dolphin O-line is still the issue, something to that effect, because they made a point to say that the key part of that game was the fact that the Bills were able to apply pressure with just 4 men, which means they had 7 in coverage. And that's how they were able to really gain the advantage on the offense, is that they didn't really have to blitz, and they basically manhandled that offensive line with 4 guys.
And do you think that that's what led to the turnovers, and that's what led to the play calling? Do you agree with that, or you? I know we don't have the best O-line, but I find it hard to say that that's the reason we lost that game from what I saw.
I'm not saying that it was the sole reason, but certainly it was a factor in that. It was a major factor in the sense that they were able to, like I said, really deploy a lot more coverage and double up both, or bracket coverage, both Waddle and Tyreek.
How about the fact that on 2 of Tua's picks, the first 2, neither Waddle nor Hill were on the field? Yeah. Shouldn't you always have one of those guys?
You would think so. Well, unless it's what do they call that? 12-man personnel, which is double tight end set.
No, these were clear passing plays, because there was the one that bounced off the guy's shoulder and the one to Robbie Chosen where there was apparently some miscommunication. So they were not trying to, do a 4th and 1 or something like that. I found that peculiar. Shank says McDaniel and Grier are stuck at the hip. Grier made sure that was part of the deal before hiring McDaniel. Grier can survive this firing and pick a new GM again. Hustler. You mean a new coach, I guess is what you're saying. Dude, I would lose all, not that I have much, but all confidence in Grier if he can survive. Who gets fired first, Grier or McDaniel?
Man,
or both. Can you see a scenario where one gets fired before the other, or the other, or both? Or can you see any of those scenarios?
The way that Grier has 9 lives, I haven't seen him be in any kind of pressure. But at some point, this rebuild has to fall at his feet.
But do you see Grier getting fired first, or you see McDaniel getting fired first?
I would think.
Could you see
the way
McDaniel being there?
The way this guy's been lucky, Grier, I would think McDaniel would get fired first.
That's crazy, right? I mean, you're probably right, but it's amazing how he finds a way to survive. Papa Hawk says McDaniel can't run the plays. He really needs to run, trying to protect Tua. That's why he kept the running game more than usual. Shankton says Harbaugh drafted Alt. He knows how to build a team. The trenches. Yeah, it's definitely the way to build an NFL team. Everything. You could have the best of everything, but yeah, if you don't have that line, you're not going to be able to not be able to do much. Could you see a scenario where they both get fired?
No.
End of the season, Tua's not coming back. You just had to spend X amount of dollars.
I think for this season they have a built-in excuse.
Do they? What's the excuse?
Tua got hurt.
But dude, you told me he was past the concussions. That's why I busted out my checkbook. We could have let him play out his contract. You made me sign that check. You told me he was doing jiu-jitsu and that he wasn't going to have any of these type of concussions anymore, that he already played all year and that he was over this. You don't think he's going to hold his hand to the fire on that?
You would hope.
I know people that get pissed over $5.
History has shown that he seems to get away from those uncomfortable conversations.
But at some point, he's got to be held responsible. You made me give him that contract. Now, again, we don't know. Ross may be like all in on Tua too, and he, maybe he wanted to do it more. Who the hell knows? Chad says, damn, Bum has seen all of our teams win the big one. Now with the Panthers, Randy and I will die watching mediocre football, it looks like. Let's give the Bum some credit. I think he was like in second grade when the Dolphins won the Super Bowl or something like that, or maybe he was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
You have no recollection of any of that, right?
I remember the celebrations and stuff, but I don't remember. I wasn't watching football yet.
What's your first Dolphin game that you remember watching?
That I remember watching?
Yeah.
I remember the first one I went to.
Okay, what was that?
It was like 1980. I think it was the Philadelphia Eagles in the Orange Bowl against David Woodley.
Okay, I was going to say Greasy was out a couple years by then, right?
Greasy's last year actually was 79-80.
Is that like your earliest memory?
That's when I was, already that's when I was watching football.
So you did see Greasy play?
Oh yeah. I saw a playoff game, one of his last playoff games. He played the Pittsburgh Steelers in that 79-80 year. It was his last year that he played. And Zonka played in that game too.
That was his second go round with the Dolphins,
yes,
right? When he came back.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess they were trying to get the band back together. And
they made it to they were in the second round of, they were in the second round of the divisional playoff. It wasn't the championship game. It was the game before.
Wow, that is a credit to the team because those were all way older, kind of over the hill guys already.
Big time.
Shang to Shang says, since Ross put his hands on this team, we've been cursed. All the wrong moves and the wrong time. Always 1 year behind. Yeah. It's a shame because I do think that overall it's a good team. There's some flaws. No team is perfect. What could improve is the game day coaching, and you got to have a quarterback who can play. And when I say play, it's at least the first thing is to be there, to be present. Papa Hawk says McDaniel will get fired first because if Tua don't make it and the next QB wet the bed, first season Grier will fire McDaniel. He blamed McDaniel for not building the new QB in first season with QB. I guess, yeah, while Grier's been there a ton of years, he does have that built-in thing where he wasn't the main GM until the last few years. I heard this name too that this guy's bringing up.
Joe Milton.
Yeah.
Is that like Melton? What was it? Midcow? What was that name you came up with?
Well, I was talking about this guy specifically, Joseph J. Milton III. He played for the Wolverines and Tennessee, and the Patriots drafted him this year. 6th-round pick, 193 overall. That was a name that was kind of thrown around.
Milton.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know why that makes me laugh.
Maybe because we know a guy named Milton. Availability is his best availability, and obviously we can't do that. Sucks. He is a good kid and can play the position, but his body's not built for this. Just the reality of it. I have always tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I was wrong. Yeah, dude, the whole thing is it's a tragedy, dude. I agree with this, dude. I'm old school in that regard. Give me like a big, durable guy who can who can withstand.
I've always thought that about you. I've always thought you needed a big, durable guy.
You know what I'm talking about, Bum.
Yeah, I do.
Give me a. Although I'll admit I wasn't. I was pissed at the Tua pick, but I wasn't necessarily screaming Herbert at the time.
No.
Quickly, I realized, yes, that was what should have been done. But, in the moment, I just didn't like the Tua pick based on the injury and the lefty thing. And, Alabama quarterbacks in general were never really good in the NFL.
My thing was the injury thing. I mean, remember, he couldn't even play initially because he was still recovering from the whole hip thing.
Yeah, that's why we were surprised that they threw him
literally drafted a hurt guy. It wasn't that he
major.
It wasn't that we had. It's not that he had an injury history. Yes, he had that, but not only did he have an injury history, he was actually hurt at the time we drafted him.
And it was a major injury, which I still think that to this day, that's part of his mobility because, dude, he is so slow. It has to still go back to that hip injury. He looks like he has cement shoes on when he's trying to run. I agree with Dylan Sweat here. I wouldn't trade for another rookie. We need a QB with experience, especially if Tua walks away. Yeah, we need somebody that you can give the keys to and they know what they're doing. Maybe they're not, Tom Brady or whatever, but somebody who relatively can, what you're getting there. You don't want to roll the dice. Aaron Rodgers, yeah, that ship sailed too.
That's what we should have done.
YouTube thumb 4, Raphael Courtright says, we signed OBJ knowing he was hurt. That's looking like a big crap, right?
That looks, yeah.
Was that low risk, high reward, or?
Sounds like a crapshoot.
My over and under on him was if we get like 12 games out of him that are fairly productive, it was a good move.
I'm still trying to figure out, when did he get hurt? Last year when he played?
He did have some injuries last year. I don't know if we signed him already hurt. And it was there's a lot of stuff going on. Like, he didn't want to be put on the PUP list, but he got put on the PUP list. I don't know, dude. Papa House says McDaniel should go and get one of his ex-QBs for cheap like Trey Lance. It's better than Skyler. I don't know.
I haven't seen that guy play really at all.
Not play well, at least.
Yeah, I think all roads for me lead back to Grier.
Dave, that's all you need to know. Seems like all we do is bring in injury-prone players. Chad says, I feel the reason they drafted him because until he got injured, he was the QB to draft. And when we let the Breeze injury stop us, it felt like we're trying to make up for that somehow. And that's the tragedy of the Dolphins' ways. They don't sign the guy that was injured that they should have signed. They go and they draft this guy because, yes, there was the whole tank for Tua thing. And then we started winning games, you remember? And then, you know, there's the whole thing with Flores and that they wanted him to tank and he didn't tank and they offered him $1 million if you believe what you believe or whatever. But that's the story out there. And then we started kind of winning and we weren't even tanking properly, which is another tragedy. And then somehow, oh shit, we still get the guy that we were tanking for, but that's sort of like getting last year's hot items in the clearance bin, you know? Yes, this thing was hot at one time, but now it's, you know, prices have been slashed. I don't know. It was feels like if Tua did not come to the Dolphins, he might have been great. I don't know, bro. They tailored this thing to give him all the opportunity. I can't say I can't say that with Flores they did that, but he's been put in now. I don't think anybody else would have been able to create this coach weapon offense scenario that they did here. I mean, I thought at one point this guy was not an NFL quarterback. They made him be in the MVP talk the last couple of years. Yeah, Culpepper did not work out.
Wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah, well, we try to forget about all these things. The Dolphins facility needs a lot more handicap parking spots than any other team. That's a good one. You made my day there, buddy.
Dave, that's
more
all
like
you need
broken
to know.
and hot glued together. Glued. Ross should have been fired. Ross should have fired Grier and kept Flores. I don't know. I wasn't the biggest Flores guy, but the defense was pretty good, at least. But that was another, you know, coaching call of a guy. In his case, he was not even really a coordinator. Like he jumped a step there. He went from like defensive sort of assistant because I guess Belichick was calling at that point.
He was
and then McDaniel, we did a similar thing, no experience.
He was the passing coordinator. Which
McDaniel?
Was a defense. No. Flores, which was a defensive position.
Oh, yeah.
Because it had to do
was
with
McDaniel even the offensive coordinator? He had that for 1 year?
Maybe.
I know McDaniel was the run game coordinator, but maybe he had 1 year.
That's what I thought. I thought that's all he ever was.
Randy, yes, you're right. What I'm saying is the Dolphins in an alternate universe. He does not come to the Dolphins and balls out. I'm telling you. I'm not sure who he's talking about there. Oh,
Tua.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to run through some of these comments here. It's the Dolphins. Shit, damn, if we don't. 72 undefeated says, Rafael, another season here for the therapy. That's all we can do, brothers. Commiserate. Papa Hog, Grier's always signing hurt players. OBJ was hurt when he signed. That's why we signed for $3 million. OBJ knew he was going to play only 6 games for $3 million. I mean, I got to tell you, it's probably worth a flyer, $3 million. I was just hoping we'd get 12 games, 10 to 12 games. We'll see. That could still happen, right? That could still happen.
What?
That we still get 10 or 12 games out of OBJ. McDaniel was the run game coordinator and OC, but did not call the plays as OC that 1 year. So, like, we're kind of getting these guys that missed a step in the apprenticeship of being a coach. I know that's more prevalent nowadays. Was Gerard Mayo the defensive coordinator? I don't even think he was, right?
No, wasn't he the linebackers coach?
Yeah, so they did something similar too. Shank to Shank says Mike Vrabel's a proven winner. Someone else will hire him. And look, good. We fire McDaniel a year later. Always 1 year late. I'm surprised that guy didn't get a job. I'm surprised.
Belichick didn't get a job.
I'm surprised Belichick didn't get a job, dude. I guess that tough guy thing. Even though I don't know if Vrabel's one of those tough guys. I don't know if he's like a player's coach. I'm not sure. Rafael Correa says, I like Coach Flores. Fuck your feelings and do your job. TNT reminds me of military type treatment. I'm not saying Full Metal Jacket, Marine Corps style. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about winning. Feelings, Order of the Sleepless Nights says, as a Bills fan, I went numb mentally when Tua collapsed. The rest of the game was background noise. Well, yeah, I could see that as a Bills fan with what you guys went through with Hamlin, and him being involved in that play too was kind of eerie. Dennis White, who has more experience and a better record than Tom Brady? Brady has the arm and get it down the field, the experience, the knowledge. It happened. Yeah, there's complications there. And Jesus, man, after seeing that guy kick our ass so many years, it would really hurt to see that guy in a Dolphin uniform, personally,
Yeah, I don't want to.
Like,
that's just silliness.
That's
silliness that I don't want. Silliness that I don't want to deal with.
The worst part of that is if he comes here and he sucks. Even though he did pretty good his last year, stat-wise and stuff. Well, the plan was to have OBJ come in later in the season and playoffs, but obviously that ain't happening now. Well, I don't know. It could still happen, right? Yeah, Vrabel is surprising. I get flashbacks and laughs when watching Full Metal Jacket. I like that movie. Especially the first, 30 minutes or so. Old Stanley Kubrick. We need a tough coach that instills toughness. We are soft. Yeah, but the NFL seems to be moving away from that type of, obviously, right? With that type of coaching style. I'm not saying right or wrong, but we seem to get a lot more guys with team player coaches. Bum, I think you're muted, by the way. If you're trying to say something.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think Andy Reid is too soft, right?
But they seem to love him.
Yes, he does have a player's coach piece to him, but I think he's still relatively old school.
I think that's kind of the balance prototype.
Yeah.
Not his body shape, obviously, but prototype of I'm firm, but I'm fair. I love you, but I gotta bench you. Whatever the case may be. He's got it obviously going on. And there's been other guys like that. It probably gets boring, the hard ass all the time. Belichick got away with it because he fucking won, so it's hard to argue against it. So, yeah, there's a balance there that you got to have. Hootie said it best. The Dolphins make you cry. Our biggest problem is we have a lot of soft crybaby players, and they know they can pick up an easy check with Miami. Look at the big money players, all hurt except for contract year. Yeah, that game gets played for sure. Order of the Sleepless Nights Bills fan here says, yes, I got flashback to DeMar's injury. Even more creepy, I was sitting in the same exact spot as when Hamlin went down. Yeah, that was weird.
Order of the Sleepless Nights.
That's why he's hanging out with us.
Oh.
That will happen if he comes. I'm not sure what he means by that.
That may have been another text for somebody else.
with a big 6'3" guy. The reason for jelly donuts, guys do sneak food back. Sometimes you don't get to finish food in boot camp. You will never find jelly donuts in boot camp. A jelly donut? Is that a jelly donut, Private Pile? You eat it. They're going to pay for it. I'm sure I butchered the line, but that was kind of the idea. Think you guys can just punt on this season and draft Cam Ward out of the Hurricanes? I've heard that. The word is moving away from it. Society has become soft. The world is moving away from it. Society has become soft in general. Miami's a country club style retirement team, paid a lot to retire and not work hard. They eat, you pay. Favorite movie outside of the Pacific. Yeah, but Andy Reid is stern and no nonsense. The firm coach and get rid of the soft crybabies. It's a Jimmy Buffett, not Jimmy Buffet. It's a Jimmy Buffett reference. I'm getting hungry. That's where my mind is. It comes from Gypsies in the Palace. Jimmy Buffet. I was saying for Tom, if he comes, he will suck because we are the Dolphins. Yeah, bro, that would be so Dolphin, Chad. We get Tom, and it's like the first year he throws more picks. But you got to remember, he's fucking old, dude. We can't just forget that part.
I'll be happy to ruin his career like that.
Yeah, that might give just a little certain joy and all right, we're gonna suck anyways, but let's ruin his career. But you know that fucker's still eating fucking avocado ice cream, watching his fucking figure, fucking drinking baby blood and all that shit. He's probably in shape still. Tua shoves his head into Hamlin's chest area and gets concussion. What the fuck? That is messed up. So Dolphin. Raphael Courtright says no tanking. All right, dude, we ready to go? I think we've beat a dead horse.
Well, we had this main topic on the deck, right? So it wasn't one of those free-for-alls.
No, we've hung in there because the chat's on fire, and we're getting everybody's comments in and stuff. But I think we've pretty much beat this one. Flores almost had us here. If he had the talent McDaniel has, we would have a Super Bowl. All he needed was a QB that he wanted. I got to tell you, though, the talent that they've amassed on this team the last couple of years, that was never – what was that? Did you just have some sort of convulsion over there? It's amazing the talent that they built. Why weren't we able to build anything similar to that one in previous regimes? Have you thought about that?
Well, they did do some good things, right? That I was trying to remember what was the biggest thing they did during Tannehill time. Get like Mike Wallace and Lamar Miller.
Mike Wallace was always like a one-trick pony, but he did that trick really, really, really well.
Yeah, he was a major deep threat. What was the team that he was on that he got hurt and it went to the playoffs without him? Did we have Mike Wallace at that time and Jarvis Landry?
You talking about Tannehill?
Yeah, that 26. I think it was 2016 that they went to the play. He had led them the whole year.
Yeah, and then he got the knee injury, I believe, against Arizona, if I'm not mistaken.
Which was a great game. We were there.
I was not. Are you talking about Brady or talking about Tannehill?
Tannehill, man.
Great game when he got hurt.
We were at that game.
No, I was not at the game that Tannehill got hurt. I believe that was a road game against Arizona, and I believe it was Calais Campbell who hurt him.
No, it was home. And remember, they ran back a field goal block for 2 points in the stadium. It was in Hard Rock.
I was not there for that.
You were. Yes.
I would have remembered that. I saw that game on TV.
No.
Oh, man. Either I've had one too many drinks today or or I'm misremembering this, or you are.
Or
I'm gonna
I
have to
am.
look that up real quick. Yeah, I want to say, if you put a gun to my head, Ryan Tannehill hurt his knee versus the Cardinals, and it
Yes, you
was
are correct about that. And I believe that was a home game that we went to. The
Calais
return.
Campbell. I did remember that part. It was Calais Campbell, of all people,
Yes.
and I was not there at that game, dude.
Yes, we were.
No, I was not. I guarantee you. Anyways, I'm trying to figure out if this was even a home game. Let's see. That's 2016. But anyways, we were
Was
trying to
that?
figure out what the roster was.
Yeah, the receivers, the weapons. Actually, you know, I think that was when they had that running back, the train, by that time
Yeah,
too.
Ajay,
Yeah,
Matt
who
Moore.
also had a who had a great game in that Cardinal game.
Yeah, Matt Moore had to come in there. We had Landry and Stills at the time. Who was the third receiver on that team, 2016? Well, Landry was really good. Kind of his career, in a lot of ways, statistically wise, is somewhat similar to what Waddle's done. I realize they're not the same type of player or whatever, but number wise, I'm trying to figure out who the other receiver was, but it was primarily Stills, Landry, Ajay, who came out of nowhere. Deion Sims was a tight end. On the defense, we had Wake, Sue, Jordan Phillips, Kiko Alonso, Jelani Jenkins, Byron Maxwell, Tony Lippett in the defensive backfield. Isa Abdul Kudus, you'll remember him. Rashad Jones, which was a Pro Bowler for a long time.
Yeah, that Arizona game was here.
Okay, but I wasn't there, man. There might have been somebody else with you, but
I wouldn't go to the game without you.
Of course you would.
No,
I remember watching that on TV.
No.
Wow, dude, I would have remembered that. Laurente Carew was another receiver on that team.
That was a bust. That was a third round bust.
Yeah, Jakeem Grant was on there. Was another receiver on that team. Justin Hunter, can't remember that guy. Already mentioned Landry. Devontae Parker was on the team. So I'm guessing at this point Mike Wallace was out of there because I don't see him anywhere.
Lamar Miller's not on there either.
No, because we already had Ajay.
Right. So that must have been the last year. That must have been the 2015 season
of Mike Wallace
and Lamar Miller.
Potentially. Why are we bringing this up, though?
Well, because we were trying to figure out how good that team was that went to the playoffs with Tannenbaum.
It was okay.
Because we had said that they really never gave him any tools.
I mean, Kenny Stills as your number 2. I don't know.
We traded for that guy.
He was kind of like a one-trick pony kind of guy too, but he didn't even do that. Right. He didn't even do that trick really well here.
No,
like I remember him
because throwing the deep ball wasn't Tannehill's thing.
But I remember even seeing that guy drop bombs. You know, when Tannehill finally, and Tannehill for a while was really bad on that deep ball, but finally when he would hit him, he wouldn't. He dropped a few, which was like heartbreaking. The Mike Wallace era ended. It was only a couple years, and it was 2013, 2014. So even the year before that playoff year, he was not around. We had Rashard Matthews. He was productive.
Yeah. Wow, that was a big free agent signing, and he only lasted 2 years.
Yeah, kind of like also the not Wallace, Brandon Marshall also didn't last a long time. There were like like complicated relationships with both those guys, if you remember.
Yeah,
like with the media and fans, and they were sort of productive.
Wallace was more productive, I think, in those 2 years than Marshall.
Shall we run the numbers? Let's see here.
That was
just
a
looking
guess,
at the main numbers.
Wallace was probably more productive on the touchdowns. He had 73 catches for 930 and 5 TDs his first year. Then his second year, I remember you had him in fantasy. He had 67 catches, 862 yards, 10 touchdowns. Let's see what Brandon Marshall did. But I think with both of these guys at the time, if I remember, we were looking for a savior, and we wanted them to be Randy Moss or something like that, you know. And even if they were sort of productive, it was not enough. Okay, Wallace was also not Wallace. Brandon Marshall was 2 years as well, 2010, 2011.
That was like the Chad Henne years, right?
But look at the numbers. These are not bad numbers. 86 catches, 1,014 yards, 3 touchdowns. That was kind of low. Next year, 2011, 81 catches, 1,214 yards, 6 touchdowns. Not terrible.
No,
but not the kind of numbers that they wanted, or obviously not the results on the wins, and not, you know, I guess not a good relationship with the media at the time. I don't know, but the number, you know, if you just look at raw numbers, not terrible. I'm gonna run through some of these things and we can get out of here, bum. Some of these last comments. Bon appetit, Randy. Great stuff, fellas. Good seeing you, Goat. It's all about the you. Good to see you in the chat, Chad. Maybe you'll join us one of these next times. Coming up, Marino has this talent. He wins 5 Super Bowls. Says Shang Tu Shang. 90. Mike Wallace was not a number 1, though he should have not got paid number 1 money. We certainly gave it to him.
Yes.
Matt Moore. Oh, my God, Chad, this hit, dude. The hit with Matt Moore on the Steelers playoff game. Imagine for a second that that's Tua. You remember this hit, right, Bo?
Yes. Could have been on the stretcher.
I don't know if that's the guy we ended up getting. He was rolling out towards the sideline, and a linebacker came in. Was it the crazy guy that we got later that went AWOL?
Timmons.
Remember who I'm talking? Yeah. Lawrence Timmons. It might have been him.
Lawrence Timmons.
Yeah.
Could have been.
We specialized on getting guys that wreck our quarterbacks. That's why we got Calais Campbell. But yeah, if that's Tua, I don't know what happens. 72 in the fetus says, just fire everyone or don't let Grier screw it up for next GM. Fire his ass after season. Would you guys look at maybe drafting a quarterback like Cam Ward from Miami? Oh, yeah, dude. He'd be on my radar, bro. Tua's tough as hell from Papa Hog, but his body isn't made for football. I hate to say it. If you're going to get hit in football, Miami should have paid him something and let him go home with his family healthy. Yeah, he's definitely got heart. Running back A. Foster, Arian Foster.
Yeah, we heard that bum too. Remember that?
Oh, God, I forgot about that. Cleo Lemon, sign him now. He ended up being a lemon, that's for sure. Was a home game, it looks like. Yeah, I do not remember being at that game. I specifically remember watching that at home.
No.
Bum is right. You were there. No, dude. Adam Gase. Wahlberger says, hope Tua gets healthy so he can continue to embarrass the Dolphins during primetime games. Parker was a rookie.
Primetime schedule was terrible.
I think we got like 5 primetime games this year.
That's 5 losses right there.
They may flex us out of some of that shit, dude. The A Train. I was at both the Buffalo and Steelers games. A Train went off for 2 of those 3 games. Yeah, he had some of those 200-yard games where he was just freaking ripping off. Stills had a few drops for sure. Yeah, we asked Marshall with Henny.
And then the Jay Cutler was right after Tannehill.
That was the solution to the problem.
That was the problem to the solution.
Who then got hurt and we had to put Osweiler in, right?
Ass wiper.
No, he was there with Tannehill.
Ass wiper?
Because I remember seeing the footage of the miracle play, and he's like on the sidelines. But I believe Jay Cutler was the immediate.
The miracle play was 2015 or 2016.
May have been 2018, Tannehill's last year, maybe. Matt Moore, Tannehill, 2012, 2016, 2018. Who's 2019? I guess it was Cutler.
Carlos Dansby.
Oh, yeah.
Brent Grimes. Brent Grimes was okay when he was here.
Yeah.
But that was mental illness, Marshall. Yeah, he had something going on up top or didn't. I got my money on B. Marsh. Grier was involved in those days too. Yeah, what some people forget is that he was part of a 3-pronged GM attack that we had for a little while, which was him, Tannenbaum, and who was the other? Was it a lady? You remember this 3-pronged? Yeah, it was a 3-pronged attack. And he was part of it. But not the main guy. But he was definitely involved in those days. I remember him being pretty good with Henny. Yeah, we tried with Henny, bro, for sure. What about Russell Wilson? Yeah, we've kind of touched on that. I guess that's out there. He might be broken, but Russell Wilson attributed his success in Seattle to Darrell Bevel when he was the OC. I wouldn't mind it. If he 1K yards and 10 TDs, we'd be saying hell of a season. We were terrible in the red zone then, Henny. We would have saw Tua die on the field. Moore got blown up. Jesus, that was a major hit, that playoff game. And he stayed in the game, dude. That was the craziest thing of the whole thing. He definitely was concussed, Matt Moore, on that playoff game versus Steelers when he got blown up. Reggie Bush was a productive signing. I like watching Reggie. What's crazy about Reggie, I heard that A-Chain already had more like 40 yards plays in his career, which is one season, than Reggie Bush had in his whole career. When Tannehill got hurt, we got Smoking Jay. So it was for the season that Tannehill was hurt that we started Smoking Jay?
Well, remember, and I was reading to reinform myself. Remember that Tannehill didn't initially get operated. He tried to let the injury heal itself. And that happened in late 2016. Come the beginning of 2017 is actually when he decides that he is going to have to get surgery. So he misses the 2017 season, and they bring in Jay Cutler.
So who was the guy after Tannehill came back before Tua? Fitzpatrick is what it was, right?
Was it before Tua?
Yeah, because Fitz was there before Tua, the tank year. We were tanking with Fitz,
which would have been the 2019 season.
Correct, because Tannehill's last season was 2018 here as a Dolphin. So that's what I was misremembering. Damn, gentlemen, sorry. I thought had sub already doing it. Salute. This was great, and it's great. Thanks, brother. We appreciate the subs. We appreciate the comments. Everybody's been great in the chat. I got me a Brent Grimes jersey. He was solid for us. Yeah, I did like him, dude. I thought he was decent. Coach AJ, new subscriber, cool podcast vibe. Very chill. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. Shank to Shang.
The miracle in Miami was 2018.
Yeah, that was sort of like the last hurrah, dude. And we lost every game after that, which we could have, another classic Dolphin moment. We could have parlayed that into like, okay, we just beat the Patriots on this incredible play. We got some games left. That was the time when we always had a chance to get into the playoffs at the end of the season if the chips fell correctly, and we never could do it. At least we have progressed from that where we're getting in the playoffs now, but I don't know which one's more, they're both painful, right?
Yeah.
Is it possible one can die on the field from a concussion? Tua should walk away. It's not worth it. You remember we did talk about that one guy who did die on the field, and I believe it was back in the 50s 70s. Or 60s, maybe 70s. Yeah, early
70s.
Maybe early 70s. Was it a Lions player? Possibly.
Yes, Lions or Bears.
And
North Division.
The thing is that led to a lot of innovations with having
medical teams there,
on the field where that sort of thing wouldn't happen. Where you get like a thing like happened to Hamlin, and they're able to respond, quickly enough to save that guy's life. But I guess there is a precedent, and that could happen. I think Reggie Bush, Anthony Manzano says, I think Reggie Bush is another example of a great running back in college, but never mounted to anything in the pros like Archie Griffin from Ohio State. Yeah, the thing with Bush is that stuff that he would do in college where he would run from one side of the field and then just run to the other side and just outrun everybody. That kind of stuff doesn't work in the NFL. Everybody's elite speed, everybody. But, I mean, he made I don't know if you could say a bust, didn't live up to the draft status, but I compare him to a guy like Ted Ginn, carved out a nice career for himself and did, some good stuff over the years. Rafael Correa, we traded for Josh Rosen. Yep. I thought that at the time that was a good risk reward.
I'm fine with that. First-round pick. I think they actually need to do more of that.
Hey, we got him. It didn't cost a lot. We gave him a look-see. Didn't work out. We moved on. It didn't break the bank. It didn't. Sometimes you got to throw those flyers. It was Fitz before Tua. Yes, sir. Absolutely, Chad. You are correct. Got to be in the dance, of course. It hurts. We can't win a playoff game, but it's definitely better than not being there. Yeah, for sure. Anthony Manzano, with this being the second major concussion where Tua body rigid does this for the NFL to make the quarterback position to where the guardian caps like the receiver in DB. I got to tell you, I thought at the time he's the perfect candidate for that guardian cap. I haven't seen too much. I don't know if you guys have seen it around the league. I think very few people are wearing it. I don't know if it's a macho thing. In baseball, I remember one time there was a pitcher that wore a thing. He looked like one of the Mario brothers with it, but it was supposed to help like line drives that came back to the mound, protecting you from that. But it looked doofy, and I'm sure there's some stigma with that. But I was surprised that he didn't go for one of those guardian caps. Reggie Bush had a good career. And has a Super Bowl. Where did he get a Super Bowl? He was in New Orleans, I guess, when they won that one.
Yeah, New Orleans, yeah.
Grier made a huge mistake not letting Tua play out his contract. I agree. I thought with the injury history, you had to make him show it was more than just a one-year thing. Yeah, I remember Tua was a rookie with Fitz. Yes, and Fitz had been the guy the year before when we were doing the whole tank thing, except he started to fucking win some games too. We started to win too many games for the tank. This is the fourth major one, third one for the NFL. Yeah, and there was one in college. But if you really want to give him another one, that one in the Bills that they called a back injury, I mean, he gets up, he shakes his head, he falls down,
And he falls down.
He goes to a knee at least. That definitely looked like a concussion. And then 4 days later, he had a serious one. That the most serious of all the ones that he had. I thought about that too, man. Like,
this concussion came on a Thursday night football game 4 days
after another game. Is there something to that? That both of his major concussions have come on Thursday night football immediately after playing a Sunday night football? Who knows? There could be something to that.
They say the players don't really care for Thursday night games.
No, I just like it because there's another day for football. Why don't they do it on Fridays? I guess they don't want to. The college football games on Friday are not that major. Usually,
usually Friday has always been for high school.
Yeah, I guess you don't want
to. College is more Saturday usually.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with that. Carr could have been had. What do you think, Bum? Would you have gone for Carr at any point?
No.
I've never been particularly a fan of his game. A lot of check down stuff for Carr, I've noticed. He beat the Bill concussed, that's right, and then the Bengals one.
And then the Packer one. Yeah. Then there was the Packer one.
Yeah, the Packer one was not diagnosed on the field. It was diagnosed later. And then that's the one
that shut down him for the season, and we had to continue with Skyler. Let's see what Anthony Manzano has to say here. The ownership and coaches from the Dolphins need to protect Tua from himself and try to convince him to retire. If your body is telling you can't play football, just retire. Yeah, the thing about that is the Dolphins do not want to tell him to retire because of the money situation. So the best scenario, if you're thinking about it as a business, which I'm sure they are, is they want him through the doctors and his family and whatever to retire. Yeah, I guess you're right. They want to convince him to retire. They don't want to retire him. They want him to do it on his own accord. So they don't have to be in more than they already are in. Because if they clear him and he wants to play, he's going to play. They're going to play him. That's for sure. They should work the Thursday night game, and then the team gets a bye week. They work in Thursdays in that 8 to 10 week mark would be better. Or coming off the bye. Yeah, I don't think a football team should be playing 2 games in 5 nights, 5 days. That's too much.
Yeah.
They should. Is there a way to schedule that? Like, if you play the Thursday night game, it's during or before your bye week or somehow, or immediately after your bye week only. You could only play a Thursday night game if you're coming off a bye.
Or going in.
And in a way, it's right. Well, if you're going into one, though, you already played 5 days ago. So that doesn't really.
Yeah.
Whenever you play a Thursday night game, you're kind of going into like a mini bye situation already as it is. I guess the way, if you wanted to be careful, you would say if you had a bye week last Sunday, then you could play Thursday because you just had 10 days off. So we're not making you play 2 games in 5 nights. But that would be a lot of scheduling. All right, Bum. We out of here. Any parting thoughts?
It's a damn shame where we're at, but we've been through these debacles before. We'll see how we'll come out of this.
It's just another saga in the endless. I wonder. We follow this team closely.
I wonder if there's this much drama in all the other franchises, and if it's because it's important to us because it's our team, or is this team really sort of cursed, and does this team really have more of these situations than anybody else does? You know what I mean? I don't know if what have we had? Did we had the bully gay, the coaches doing coke, the player who goes AWOL?
That's why I started with, where did this debacle lie on the list, you know? Because this one has the smell of the end of this rebuild.
Yeah, you know, I'm always optimistic that there's something, especially with the talent, that there's some way to plug somebody in there to make this thing at least a playoff run, you know. But it's gonna take, like you said to me when I said you think they're off the air. I asked you, will they sign Tannehill? And you said they don't have the balls to do that. And I think that may be true, and that's fucked up if it is.
Yeah.
But we'll see. That's the consensus.
I think it is.
Last comment we're going to do for the night, and we'll get out of here. Do you think Miami should let Tua sit the rest of the year, sign a good starter, then go draft the first round QB and battle out for the franchise starting QB if Tua does play? Hate to say it. Nah, man, I'm not into any of that, dude. I think we got to make, a clean, hopefully, I'm hoping, clean break, move on. I don't know. I think he's capable of at least holding the fort down, Chad. Yeah, I would love a clean break one way or the other. He's coming back, bring him back. He's not coming back one way or the other. If he comes back, then we'll find out. But really, my heart tells me that this guy should hang it up. I'm nobody to tell him. That's up to him. But I don't want that franchise held ransom and the season held ransom. You could still do stuff. Joe Flacco made a playoff run last year. Playoff run is not a Super Bowl win, but you get to the dance, you start playing games. Who knows what can happen? So you got to do something. You can't just stand there and bleed. That's the thing that I'm saying. All right, fellas. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subbing. I'll be back after the next game, maybe before. Bum, thanks for hanging out. And we'll see you next time. Go Dolphins. Go Canes. Peace.